Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs, but it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? 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 Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Have we gotten lost? I'm starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs, but it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? I'm looking for the road, eyes on the sky, taking it one step at a time. I know that I'm not alone, yeah, we'll be fine. Taking it one step at a time. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs, but it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you We're starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus.
Welcome to Nothing Else in the Apex Pro EU League Season 4 Day 3. We're directly hopping to the matches. Cascade is going to be on my side as the wonderful Tombizz. The intro is fast, quick, pretty much as the game style and the gameplay. Regarding Cascades, it's an aspect where I would call high ground a bit of a disadvantage. I would call an alternate and a Mozambique a disadvantage. From start on, it could look better.
Yeah, what? I don't think the weapons can actually look any worse. Like that's pretty much my nightmare scenario. Maybe a P2020, but at least that gun has a level of accuracy to it. But I imagine in this sort of scenario, and at least in these sort of positions, there's not going to be too many people around. Hemlock as well is a weapon that actually quite a lot of people have started using as a bit more of a long-range sniper. But I imagine, yeah, the longbow being found early on, and that'll be something that Alex will love to have within his inventory this early in the game.
In combination with an alternator, it's interesting. For me, it's somewhat surprising he rather drops the devotion that early on. Either he didn't see it or he just doesn't prefer it at all. But I mean, from my personal tier list, I don't know how you see it, Tom, but there's a devotion above the alternator, and I think there's no real.
I think that there is one benefit, and the benefit is that the alternator will take all the attachments that he wants for the R301
Right.
or for the R99. And that's going to be the end goal. Like pretty much every player will, if they find an R99, they'll switch it up. And you can see this basically just means that, for example, his extended mag, which he'll definitely want to keep, the stock as well. He doesn't have to carry them around in his inventory. He can just have them on the gun. And then when he finds the other gun, he'll just switch it out. And chances are most teams at this point in the game, they don't want to take a battle because we say it pretty much every single week on the broadcast, but it's all about positioning. The kills
Right.
are worthless. So you want to try and loot in separate areas. In fact, we actually don't normally get to see this early in the game. We normally dropped a little bit late, but you sort of see teams try and avoid everybody, even when they're flying down. If they see somebody going in their direction, like I know when I play, I'm like, right, I'm having him. But it's not the way they're going to do it. They'll sit back. They'll go, okay, let's reposition somewhere else that we know is clear. Everybody will be spotting to try and find areas. And yeah, it's all about just getting loot without having to battle.
That's a very good point because there are some formats in the Apex scene where you have to go for kills. This is all about placements. And we just saw a quite abysmal sort of take when it comes down to the lovely equipment. Now we see a R99 and a Spitfire. I think this is a phenomenal start. And from that point on, you said it, positioning, getting yourself in the right location, getting the right sort of loot, the right sort of supportive loot. This is all just the perfect basis. And especially when you take a look at the teammates, it couldn't be much better.
Yeah, no, they're in a pretty good scenario early on and already looking for those rotations. I think the use of Pathfinder is pretty much the norm at the moment within Apex, mainly again because of the idea of just getting into the ring, getting the points. So knowing where the extra ring is early on is going to be very valuable. It does mean that in the late game, you'll actually start seeing teammates dropping maybe better armor or better weaponry over to a Wraith because that's who you want to survive. That's who you want in the battles, even though they have fixed the Pathfinder's hitboxes and it's not quite as bad as it was. And in fact, can be a little bit dodgy at times. He's still a much bigger hitbox than either of the two characters that we currently have. And also, other than the grapple, his movement is kind of like trying to run around with him is not an ideal situation. Trying to hide in corners with him when he's so big is also not the best. So you're sort of aiming to make sure that your Wraith is as stacked as possible in the late game.
Right, and obviously, it's not even we're in the late game. She's wearing the purple armor. We don't know necessarily about the weaponry, but it looks like Max Strafe is fairly good equipped in the beginning phase. And now going into the slum aspect, in my eyes, one of the worst areas in the game. At least they can stay somewhat arcane and in the shadows from the positioning they're at right now, because from this point on, you can just wait it out. You're close to the zone. It's all about placements to once more put it out, and therefore now patience could be pretty much key, as all the bushes, all the stones, all the rocks, they're hiding you quite massively, and it all seems fairly silent, quiet, and relaxed over here.
Yeah, it is going to be like that towards the beginning of the game, as nobody's really going to be fighting too much for positions. You can see that at least for, wow, that's the name, CTZNS. They're going to be looking to try and get the high ground early in this match. Just make sure you can sit back. It is a bit like that sort of Obi-Wan battle where you just want to stay up high, shoot down onto your opponents, and basically make them have to try and come up to you to take control. But it actually looks like the team are going to be pushing forward a bit here, maybe spotting out some opponents with white armor. They also want to get on to the point where they can use that little recon beacon and work out where the next spot is going to be. And it's actually, again, still not very far away. And considering how long is left on the clock, they really don't have to worry much at all.
Yeah, it's very comfortable for all the teams who landed further in the west. I mean, if you consider it further in the east, because that zone is actually so much to the western border. It is a long run. You really have to go for a marathon for this one if you land on the other side of the map. But as we've seen, they spotted another team, and at that point, it looked for a second like they're going for the aggressive approach directly for the engagement, but it seems like they'd rather not stay in the close range area of the slum lakes, which is understandable because it can get very uncomfortable. There's so many corners to check. Rather stay out in the open, which could also be called debatable to some degree, but close to the zone they are, as you said. Not much to worry about overall. I'm not quite sure what their equipment says, but they keep on running, and next spot is the safety. A few houses, few real estate they might be able to get into.
Well, we are going to go back on board with Alex W. Yet to really gain too much. You can see they're very close
Yeah.
to the opposing team, just looking to now run into the slum lakes. And other than the fact that his wingman is fairly stacked, and we know that he has the longbow going as well, it's a bit of a worry with the armor. Head armor as well is going to mean that a pop to the face from most weapons will actually put Alex W to the ground. But I've sort of learned with this team not to doubt them. They did very, very well last season, managing to claim that first place. And I believe this season's going to be even longer. And I think that was the difference between them and teams like Flavor of the Month is they're pretty damn consistent all the way through. Like, okay, maybe they weren't making the most audacious plays or taking the riskiest moves and almost like styling for the camera. They were making sure that they were solid within the points every single game. And that's how they managed to win themselves the league. Like, there's nothing else other than that.
I mean, but that is what actually gets you up there. I mean, surely it's not all about being flashy, especially when it's about placements. You just want to consistently pull it through. And suddenly Alex W is in a bit of pressure as he's being shot at. Directly goes for the shield cell. The Wraith is coming in aggressively. Same goes for the Lifeline, who, by the way, is looking a little bit in danger when it comes down to the armor, and they take the close range fight, directly going in and chasing and hunting down the prey as they're looking for it so desperately. Nobody's about to be found for the moment. And through the sewers they go, but no trail yet to be found.
Well, gathering ground. They're into the ring as well, so risks not particularly needed to be taken, but they will just make their way further forward. Now, this is exactly where we saw the previous team, who are definitely more stacked out in terms of armor, over in this direction. Again, looking at the characters that have been chosen by the Tiny Hand Gang, this is almost as standard as it gets. You sometimes see the Lifeline switched out for a Bangalore, and every once in a while you get a Gibraltar, which the Gibraltar win is still hands down my favorite win of all in the whole of the Pro League. But well, it was basically because they managed to get into those one of those little underground things with the vents above it. The ring centered on them. He uses his ult and kills like 4 people. It was fantastic. So
horrible.
It was just a mind game. I don't know. I have a soft spot for Gibraltar. I can't say that I'm particularly good, but I do like his ult. I like his ult. It's a bit of fun.
Well, the thing is, I think we're talking about a fairly small zone in that sense. I mean, not there yet, but let's see that
we'll get there.
We'll get there. And we're still talking about 14 teams that are about to enter the next one. 14 seconds until the ring closes. That puts a bit of pressure on all of them who need to enter it. And it's interesting. They're choosing a different path, but we're switching over there. And I think if I see correctly, Lifeline is out or dead. One of it. Now it comes only down to the longbow and few decent shots. And I think this is the team we've seen previously with the name so hard to spell as my first name. And you take a look at it. You take a look at that problem with the armor, because those shots, they got to hit from start on.
Yeah, I think one of their players has dropped, which is definitely going to be a big problem for the Tiny Hand gang. Now, I imagine they're going to fall into a far more defensive mode of just basically going all out survival. They've got themselves into a decent position early in this rotation, so not really going to be too worried about moving anytime soon. The only problem is the meds aren't that high. The weaponry, okay, that's not
Yeah.
bad, but they can't really continue to keep battling like this. Okay,
Yeah.
sure, they're only healing up 2 shields each time, but it's just going to be a worry for them. And the big thing about these sort of later rings, okay, it's valuable if you have the lifeline to keep taking these fights, but you don't anymore. You can't even heal up properly without that player. And so I think they need to be a little bit more conservative in their battles.
Pretty much. And I mean, this is the point in time where maybe your opponent will realize, hold on, there are only 2 players left. Could be just the invitation to an aggressive sort of play. But so far, it's just a duel of the windows, basically. Peeking out when needed, trying to take a player out. A tiny, tiny angle he was trying to choose. But this is just... feels like a very retro sort of... It feels like a good old medieval sort of style. Everybody just waiting with the bows, shooting in time, letting the opponent come close. But they rather wait this out. It's might not be the most interesting style, right? But this is what actually keeps you alive, and this is what keeps your team on the right track, especially when we talk about only 2 players.
Yeah, but they're going to be pushed. You can see the team pushing in with purple armor opposite them. And, well, the Pathfinder has to fall back. I like that, closing the door for the teammate. The Wraith able to sneak through it, and they're just going to go moving. I think they're going to try and switch into the position their opponents were just in. So there's a little bit of a ring around the rosy, as we do see the opposition now on the other side of the window. So it is a complete rotation of positions. We are going to see actually a little bit of an upgrade in armor, and they're going to start finding different players along the way. I think Alex, for a second there, was considering going back and switching to the white armor because it would have saved him a little bit in terms of using his shield cells. But now they're just going to try and find a little gremlin angle, a hidey hole under the bridge, and hope that nobody comes across them.
Yeah, it could be pretty much where they're taking out the opponent in those 1-by-1 fights as they're trying to scout the area. But the question is, did they already give up the hunt or not? Because we're talking about 14 squads left. Still, it's still 14 squads, and I mean we had a few minutes pass actually, but well, that is the case. Obviously, the zone is coming in anytime soon in 2 minutes 30, and I'm not quite sure if that looked like suppressive fire or just the mutts being spit up, but they rather take a different route, go safely.
Well, SKC also lost a member. They've managed to get themselves up. We've seen actually quite a few teams. I think Flavor in the Month were playing up here before. I saw one of the craziest Pathfinder plays as well, being able to jump off the back, hook background, and swing up to the top from below and get a couple of kills off the back of it. I think that was actually how Flavor of the Month got eliminated in that matchup. So there's some pretty interesting plays that could come out around these positions, but this is sort of an easy place to just hide. And well, this is interesting because I believe that SKC are just below them on the rocks, so we could have a couple of our streams meeting each other fairly soon. I will say that they do seem to have the closer range weaponry here. The R99 is definitely going to bring things in a little bit later on for Stampy.
A little bit later on it is, but the Spitfire in the meantime is going to be the mid-range weapon, the tool to success, they pretty much hope. CTZNS, which is already pretty much a difficult name to speak, could be just the difficult problem any of those opponents might face anytime soon. They are pretty much aware that they don't really need to take those fights at the high ground. They feel they should be fairly safe up here, but they're taking a fight. They're somewhat aggressive, peeking from time to time, which does not necessarily result in their death.
Ooh.
But it's the one zipline they need to watch, and you say it. That Wraith is in major trouble.
Yeah, just taking a big hit.
Looks like
also
a
going to
longbow.
be... I think they might be doing the strategy that we've seen quite a bit from a lot of the teams. It's like having a couple of sets of armor around. There we go. Oh, shots hit. Stampy, low on HP, has to try and fade away. They've already used the lifeline healing bot, so they're just going to have to wait and heal what they have. But the thing is, they've used up a lot of their shield cells. They've used up a lot of their health altogether. Are going to be a few med kits dropped. But the fact is, at the moment for CT, they are in a little bit of trouble. And by the looks of things, they're going to try and take the fight here, pushing across to the other side. Their opponents have just gone in this direction, but they may have jumped further into the ring. No, in fact, they're just below as they continue to fight, but the shot's just not quite being connected.
So
Eventually, they will find SKC. It was them hiding just down below. One of the players dropped. It's Black on the other stream who has fallen to the ground, and now they need to continue to try and push in, but Black is gone.
This was so pivotal that they moved to the other rock, because otherwise they would have seen their opponent actually taking a similar ground and not just having the high ground advantage anymore. Lifeline is down, though, and this is now becoming a little bit problematic for the lads who are up on the pedestal. As still, the Spitfire tries to reign supreme. No chance in the end, and the grapple didn't even work according to plan. So now safety must be the next target. And if I remember correctly, Tom, this was an area where they actually attacked the squad a little earlier on.
Yeah, they should know that there are players around this area. It will be one of their teammates already getting lost within the fights. And the funny thing is, they've actually had to trade out a lot of their heavier armor just because they don't actually have any shield cells to heal it back up. So you can see that Wraith previously did have a set of purple armor. We'll now go back and get it. But to be honest, not even really in that good a scenario, no matter what armor they intend to use. It will only be 2 shield cells of it actually healed up. They're being pushed as well from players in the bit above. Grenades coming through, and they're in a lot of trouble here.
The pressure is being built up here onto CT. And the revive is not going to happen either. They got to stick to 2 players. And I mean, I don't know how you see this, Tom, but we're talking about 10 squads left and the zone getting so small. It is just dangerous because you're going to meet an opponent anytime soon around the corner, which makes it just so uncomfortable. This is really the kitchen getting set on fire. But if you can't stand the heat, you got to get out of it. Ring closing in 2 minutes. And as we're switching over to Alex, they are running into the circle just now. I am worried that this is going to end in a massive massacre anytime soon. 12 squads, small zone. We're in the 4th one, if I'm not totally wrong. It couldn't get any worse at that point in time.
Well, that is the thing. This is something that the Tiny Hand Gang do best, is coming out of horrible scenarios and just making it work. Now, they don't have any grenades, which pretty much what we see nearly all the time with these late rings is the fact that you're just going to want to lob as many grenades in as you can and try and just melt other opposition. I believe their stream is a little bit behind some of the others, so for all we know, they could actually already be dead, because I'm pretty sure we got down to 10 squads on the other side, and we've still got 11 here. So a bit of a delay for LXW. Maybe worried about the opposition taking a little peek at his stream as they go along. They are the reigning champions, so you can't really blame them for that. But this is what I mean. They get into these proper little gremlin angles, sit in the corners, wait for players to come in, and just hope that nobody spots them. And then when it comes down to the last few seconds, they're just going to try and finish everybody off.
And I mean, if you get a clean sweep to the end, nobody can complain. You're officially the winner by then. And so they're waiting it out. The longbow in combination of the wingman is, of course, something that is not made for rapid fire, but for pure precision. Switching over to CT. I remember this, Tom. I think I saw this 1 minute ago. And ever since, it's pretty much a hellfire that has been starting on the outside of those houses, but they got it cozy and warm in there. And in a relaxed spot they are, because they are still now in the top 10 and able to come closer and closer to those points.
Yeah, only the top 5 gathering, though. So 6th is basically just the first loser within this game. And you can see the Wraith starting to take a little bit of damage, or at least bullets going in her direction. Now, the ring is going to center on their position. You know that it's likely that many of these different teams are going to try and make their way towards them at this very moment. And the next ring will shrink even smaller. So they've got to be a little bit careful here that they are still within the ring. If they get that lucky, maybe there's a chance. But unfortunately for them, it is going to move in the other direction. Luckily, though, still 1 minute and 20. And they may just want to wait this out and try and be a little bit sneaky at the end.
They might just want to do exactly that. It seems like at least the thunderstorm from outside started to calm a little. But there it goes. There seems to be the attack starting in as they try to seize the home. Whoever it is knocking on the door, it starts to get a little problematic. as you see that Max Strafe and Koa, I mean, it must have been them who are not having any shield cells left, right? Because otherwise, why would you drop a purple armor? This is just making it worse in the ending stage, where you are taking damage so instantaneously. And as they're trying to block the door, it seems like at least Slampy is trying to do that to some degree. His teammate is still pinned down, can hardly move, but nothing really happening yet. It is about to be the top 5 soon, Tom, but nobody has achieved any points yet.
Yeah, there seems to be the struggle. 6 teams remaining. The next to go down is going to be probably, well, the hardest hitting, I would say. It really is the worst position to finish. I think you'd rather go out quick and at least know that you weren't this close, but
right.
They are just going to be peeking around the angles. Medkit's being switched over just in case. Surprised it's actually the Wraith to give it up, especially when it looks like, is that a Mastiff in hand? I'm a little bit curious as to what weaponry
sure.
Max is actually holding. It may have been, or it could also be the energy weapon. I can't remember its name at the
you
moment.
mean?
Yeah, that's the one. But
it is a Mastiff, isn't it?
no, it is. So,
No.
this is dirty. This is
You gotta be
dirty.
kidding
Just
me.
a tiny little corner. They've got into the top 5 as well doing this. So it may not have been the ideal way to get on the points, but it is one way to do it. They are just going to be hiding. Alex is still standing, by the way, as well, but his teammate's just gone down. So he'll eliminate Team MTW and look to try and revive him back up. The great thing about this stream delay is that we can watch this from one POV and then get the sort of replay just afterwards. But it is going to be Jazz to go down. So you can see Alex W is just going to be surviving. He's still on 7 squads left. So at this point, he hadn't even got into the points, but we know he will make it there in just a moment.
He will make it there in just a moment, exactly as you say it. It's still not the best fight if you just try to wait it out over and over and over again. But there you see it. Wraith and fights together with his teammate. And Alex W looking to check every single window, looking to check every single opportunity where a head could pop out. They're now going over the wall aggressively into the house they want to go into. If I'm not totally wrong, this is the one we actually have been seeing previous to that, to be where they're now hiding just centimeters away from the actual zone that could kill them. So now upgraded weapons are coming in, or more likely, upgraded tools and equipment. And as the zone is about to close in 37 seconds, which is, of course, the replay, as you mentioned it, Tom. When did they realize that there's somebody just squatting in the corner directly above him to wait it out?
Yeah, that's the thing, though. There's no real reason for either of these teams to take the fight versus each other. They're not the most direct threat, especially for Alex W. knows, and he's just spotted the man on the top of the building. That would be the elimination of Didi, and that was actually to put this into the 5-squad brawl. The only problem is, I believe, from what we've just witnessed, that this will be the moment that the other teams now realize where they are. So they have to make their move. There'll be teams watching onto the cross as they look to try and wrap around into the ring. And they are going to be successful, but they still have to be careful of just teams around this corner. Spam coming in. It will be his teammate taking a lot of damage. But actually, Alex is the one who has to retreat in this scenario and just going to be trying to heal in the corner, almost using Jazz as bait and just waiting to see anybody pushing him. But look at these instant shots. So many hit with the wingman. Able to close out one. Just looking to try and retrieve something to give him to battle with. Picking up the golden armor will definitely help him out a little bit. And goes to try and retrieve his teammate's banner, but actually wiped out just from the corner. That's got to be so painful for him, as he will now just have to try and survive himself.
Yeah, it was the self-revive that was used by the Wraith. He's trying to still stay alive, dealing damage, but those shots are coming in fast and swift. Good night for him. And so Alex W is out, and so we see a bit of pressure building up on the Frenchmen, who are now realizing the zone is not their friend. 3 squads are remaining. They need to get out of there anytime soon, because otherwise it will eat them alive. They are going out. The Arcstarks are raining in. This could all become so problematic. Look at the damage dealt! And this is so massive in the last zone. And if I see it correctly, they've done it. They did it. Or I could be horribly wrong with what I'm saying, but no. Or is it? It is.
Yeah, they won. They won. Yeah, I don't think they'd just be punching each other in the circle if they hadn't. The grenade's just able to do so much damage towards the end, and that's always going to be the helpful thing for the teams that do have the extra health and the extra healing abilities, is just Just throw as many nades in there as you can and then jump in seconds after. The other most valuable thing is always going to be that Wraith Q, just to avoid the damage for those few seconds. We've seen plenty of teams win off the back of that alone. But yeah, just a nice grind coming out from Alex W. I will have to say, like, to get into the top 4, considering how bad things went with a teammate disconnecting and then like having really low like armor all the way through the game, that's points. Like, that's all they're really worrying about. So something at least. HS are the ones to actually take things home, so they'll get the full amount of points available, which I believe was 19 with the amount of teams. So a big bulk of points. It is a 4-week-long stretch of this tournament, so everything is going to help you, as you will have to grind it out over the month. But yeah, that is it for game number 1. There's 5 more to go, so make sure you're back after the break.
Where do we go from here? Have we gotten lost? I'm starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I'm looking for the road, eyes on the sky, taking it one step at a time. I know that I'm not alone, yeah, we'll be fine. Taking it one step at a time. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. gotten lost? I'm starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I'm looking for the road, eyes on the sky, taking it one step at a time. I know that I'm not alone, yeah, we'll be fine. Taking it one step at a time. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? 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 Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Have we gotten lost? I'm starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us.
And we're back with nothing else than some Apex Legends action, if that's the right way to put it. We already saw a stacked and massive game, and we're directly hopping back into the action. On my side is the wonderful bold man with the best hair in the UK and Ukraine by now. That is Tom. And so, yeah, you're an export product, you know?
Yeah.
That
Or
works that way.
import. It depends which
Import
way you look at it.
alternatively. Yeah.
It depends where you look at it. Like output sort of suggests that they were trying to get rid of me for something else, which doesn't sound quite as nice as
I
import,
don't
where
know.
it's like, oh, we need that, so let's bring that in.
True. Well, and there you are, obviously.
Well, we're on board with 3D Max. For now, I've heard that we're going to switch, but the
Yeah.
shots are actually being taken by Lager. So looking to try and get a kill early on, but he is running out of ammo. So probably going to have to switch over to the R99 in a second. But it's not the best gun at that sort of range.
Not really. I mean, the R99 is. You can use it for 5 meters and then it starts to drop off. I mean, this is very radically put, right? But it feels a lot like that. It feels a lot like that. And so, poor Spitfire running out of ammo, 12 more bullets left into it, while he got an entire universe of bullets left for him for the R99. Drops his armor, which could then go to Rafe, very possibly. And so, Tom, in the beginning phase, as last time, not too much action, not too many inputs, but it's actually Lifeline picking that, which.
I think he just ran past the armor as well. On to Dids. Now, I personally haven't actually got to see any of Fnatic, but if they're anything like the Fnatic we have in Counter-Strike, they're going to be very,
Oh, yeah.
very exciting to watch. I would assume that the Org is going to be picking up a damn good team, even if it is very early on in the life scale of Apex. That's always the thing. Like a lot of the teams you'll cast early on will not make it a long way into the sort of competitive scene. Like teams will be juggled around very early, and you'll see a lot of younger pros coming through later in the cycle. But
Right.
for now, we're starting to witness the rise of a lot of these organizations. I know that Alliance have themselves a team, obviously a very well-known org, and like we've seen Fnatic, Na'Vi as well.
Mhm.
At the moment, at least, we're just witnessing Fnatic on the outskirts of the ring, just going to be looting up as much as they can early on. An R301 with decent attachments already, just wanting the barrel stabilizer and, of course, some sort of scope to add onto it. But other than that, fairly well off. And a G7 Scout, another popular weapon. But we are going to go straight back in onto Lager, starting to build up a repertoire of weaponry of his own.
What is your opinion on the Prowler, Tom?
No.
Really?
Yeah, I think if you have the select fire, it's all right. I think without, I'm just not a fan.
I think it's overall one of the most underrated weapons in the game. I'm actually going to stand by that. I'm actually going to stand by that thesis.
Well, you are German, so I guess you're probably cheating. So I guess like with the like straight
What
aim.
is that supposed to mean? I don't have an enemy profile picture, so it's off. We're in the green zone about that.
Yours is worse. Your profile
Worse?
picture is worse.
It's just
So
basically me.
what is your origin picture?
That doesn't matter. That's a totally different point.
Let's break
Listen,
that one
right,
up.
Tom. This is not relevant. Steam matters, Discord matters, Twitter matters, right? But not my origin name or picture.
Wow.
Because I can't
You hear
change
that?
it.
You hear that, Origin? One of the
Oh,
guys
Jesus
casting
Christ.
a game that's on your platform just
Why do you
doesn't
blackmail
like
me
you.
like this? Not needed.
Well,
appreciate
First My
it.
Pistachios, they are guys we have pretty much watched all the way through every single season. They have been here looking to try and fight within the Pro League, and they're always exciting to watch as well. I think a good rounded roster of players. I know that him and QQ have been together for a fair time, so definitely looking to try and get themselves further up. Always has his hand cam. You'll notice that later in the evening, he normally forgets to turn his lights on, and it will get very dark on that hand cam, but that is the life of a gamer.
Pretty much, right? Though very honestly, I never gamed with lights out. I always need lights on. I can't do that in the dark. It hurts my eyes.
What? So you've never like just got caught up playing and then you look up and it's dark?
No, I instantly turn on the light.
You're weird.
I'm sorry. We had the Prowler discussion, right? We had the profile picture and origin discussion. Now it's about light. I don't know what's next. Maybe hairstyles is the next thing. I don't know.
Well, mine's definitely better. There's no argument there.
True.
But yeah, back onto Fnatic. We are going to be just watching them take the high ground. This is something that teams will do a lot of the time. Mainly in this scenario, it's riskier just because, okay, you get the overall overview, but at the same time, it's a little bit more problematic just because you can also be seen by pretty much everybody. But 3D Max coming under fire fairly early on in this battle. We are going to see the golden scope handed over on to the R99. The close range weapon going to be looking to utilize that, spraying away, but Laga's taking so much damage. Going to try and use the grenades to hold back the push, but actually his teammates have done the work. A lot of damage already completed. One of the opponents being removed and just trying to dunk nades down below, and actually does manage to hit a bit of damage and close out the final player as well. Good work from Laga. Going to look to try and revive the remaining teammates, get that loot going, and just checking out for any other players around. But there is just one more in behind. Laga's already down to just 1 HP, and well, he'll be able to grapple onto the wall. I wonder, does that mean, did one of them have a golden?
Must have been the case.
Because, yeah, they didn't actually go down straight away, but that's unfortunate for 3D Max. I believe that was a second team, so just getting pincered in from behind.
Yeah, they were pretty much on the pedestal at that position, right? Because you're standing in between Skulltown and Market, can be pretty much attacked from every single position. And once somebody is smelling the blood, of course they're getting greedy for it. Not quite sure if that was intended by Dids, but it felt a lot like it. His teammates just coming behind. If I saw correctly, Tom, I think they're being shot at, so therefore they rather not pick a duel that early on. Get into the top 5, get the points, represent Fnatic, and even a first place that might be served to them tonight.
Yeah, they are one of the teams sort of fighting for the top at the moment, I believe, in 14th. But as it is just week 1, like, we're going to see a lot of movement within the board. A team that could be at the top right now may end up outside the top 50. There's so many points on offer going throughout the week. So you want to get... It's all about consistency. That's basically the thing. That you could have a couple of wins based off maybe a little bit of luck or the right positioning, or a few losses based off the same thing. But in this scenario, it's not going to be too much of a problem for Fnatic. They're just looking to escape, get away from this battle. They want to get into the late numbers. They do not want to be dying here.
No, that was looking fairly dangerous, as the heat could have been just hitting them anytime soon. Made it out in time, and it seems like the dropship could be their next objective. Nope, just waiting directly underneath it in time to go for those shield cells, because otherwise you are starting to get in a bit of trouble. I mean, everybody of them has a bit of a shield problem, to say it like that, right? We're talking about only white armor. And with 15 squads left, and you're on your way to Skulltown, they won't dodge fights, to say it like that.
Well, yeah, they're making their way further into, well, yeah, basically what you said is a fairly risky position, but at the same time, it can give them the high ground. If they can get that early on, that will be so valuable, especially knowing that the late ring is going to be coming in. And, well, that's the advantage that this Pathfinder really gives you at the moment. Just all of the knowledge of where the ring's going to be moving to. If they can find another one to sort of get them an even later ring, that's going to be so beneficial as well, especially with this final centering position. If it goes up onto the top, whichever team is up there, well, it's sort of like a 50-50. If everybody challenges for the top, it's not so valuable. If everybody's underneath you, you basically win. The only thing that can catch you off is if there is maybe a sneaky little Bangalore or a Gibraltar just to throw in one of those ults and try and force you off the top.
Yeah, I would agree on that, but, well, directly switching away from Skulltown and seeing nobody else stand Bangalore. You just mentioned them outside of Skulltown. They wait to the south side they are. And G7 Scout is a rare sight regarding weaponry, though I think it is actually also, and I have to put that out there, one of those underrated weapons which can be put to use quite well. But Bangalore is going to take the high ground, useful for the DMR she has in her hands. And she's just looking and scouting for the first individuals. There comes a bit of damage. The purple armor, though, is exactly what you need when you're under such heavy fire. And so the opponents, they can't escape. They are now pretty much put on the pedestal present, and now everybody knows. So danger might just come close. But will they pass away is the question, because they still are in the zone. There's still everything else fine. Golden armor besides all of that. So it doesn't seem like there's too much to worry about, at least for this second.
Yeah, golden armor. That's the thing. Golden armor is always something we highlight separately from like level 3 armor. I think I'm going to stop doing that because it is worthless. Like, it is one of the most pointless golden things. I know it is the most pointless golden thing in the game. I don't think there's any questions about that. I guess except maybe a turbocharger if you don't have one of those weapons. That's
Sure.
fairly useless as well, or the same for any of the scopes do you have. But even then, that can be given to a teammate. You can't really just be like, yeah, no, hold that guy there while I execute him to get my shields back. Like it's just so risky.
It
Like
is.
we have not seen it used once throughout this tournament so far, which we are now into season 4. So the fact that this is going on for that many weeks and I haven't seen it once sort of makes it seem like maybe they need to buff that and give it something else.
I mean, you can put it really that way. It looks shiny, right? It's pretty much like a piece of plastic painted in gold. That's golden armor. It's nothing else, and I fully agree with what you're saying. Because who's gonna be like, I want to go for the lovely executor? Oh, I just need 5 seconds out in the open. I can't really fight in the meantime. So yeah, you're right. I would 100% agree on that. Very good point. Hope it is gonna be stated in the books once in a while. But we're still talking about 15 squats there, Tom. 15. And
Ooh,
also the
lots of
first fight happening.
damage already being done, but the team actually managing just to survive at the moment. Lexus will get his shields back and recovered. And this is just a spot that they're going to hide in until the ring actually forces them to move. You don't really want to be taking any more fights at this portion of the game. With so many teams left remaining, even if you do manage to get the team that you're looking for, it's still going to be very, very difficult. And we're back on again. It's Stampy from earlier. He's got that lovely 4-to-10 zoom, which is going to be something spicy for the later stages. Or actually, no, I would say earlier stages. Later stages is going to be quite hard to use, but the longbow kitted out with the extended mag and the skull piercer, not the best other attachments, but all in all, I'll be honest, if you are a good enough player, those remaining 2 attachments don't actually matter so much. Whereas this is just absolutely filthy. The chance to shoot at players that won't even be able to see him properly at such range and lights them up in a wonderful red color for him. It is pretty much the OG sniper setup.
It is. Feels a lot like you are, I don't know, playing a little bit of Sniper Elite in that one with this weapon. Is just so OP in that sense. Knows where they're all going, has a perfect idea, can just trace them down, realize which path they'll choose. But he realized, I'm also on the fire from the right-hand side. I can't just stand in the open and try to find any more of those individuals going down. There it seems, it looked like a Pathfinder he was seeing, trying to get that wiggle duel in his favor, but for the moment, none of those shots are connecting. Nothing is going in the way of CT. Finally is one bullet hitting, but it's still problematic enough as he's wasting his ammunition, not getting any damage dealt overall. And well, this is what gets you present, right? You're on the wanted list by now. With those loud shots coming out of the longbow, everybody's informed about your estimate location.
Yeah, at the same time, I don't think they're going to mind too much, especially because, well,
No.
both of his weapons are using heavy ammo, and the chances are that you're not really going to be running out of that anytime soon. Like you're going to be in a fair state. 180 bullets almost is pretty much enough to get you to the end of the game. And if you do get this much further into it, you're going to kill someone who's carrying it as well. So it's not like it's the end of the world. Also, the other thing for this team as well, if they can whittle away their opponent's healing abilities, that can be so valuable. They know that they have a lifeline. Not every team will have a lifeline. So in the late stages, you can make sure that they're not going to be able to replenish shields and basically get their health back up. Whereas you can just go, hey, lifeline, drop us down a little drone.
Hey, lifeline, drop us down a little drone.
That's a golden wingman. Who's he been paying?
Like,
genuinely, he has made some prayers to the Apex gods and just been handed everything in this game.
I mean, once in a while you got to be lucky, right? But
I did get one earlier today, but that's not the point.
see, so you got lucky. But if the thing is, right, if it doesn't pay off, it's a different sort of story. It doesn't help you. You can have the sickest kit. If you are not getting in the top 5 or logically the first place, it was all just for nothing. And consistency is an aspect we mentioned, or more likely you mentioned in this case. So consistent results are needed by now. We saw them in the final stage a little earlier on, but now we're going into maybe a final fight for this squad.
Ooh.
Arcstar is getting into the little uncomfortable, and now the Peacekeeper has to reign supreme. Doesn't work there in the end, as the problem though comes in. The shield is so well done. His teammate is also running out of shields in that point, and we might just have one squad dying any second.
Yeah, they're actually going to be flanked in from behind as well.
Oh,
Shots
no.
actually not connecting, but will be able to finish off one. Still tagged ridiculously low. No shields remaining and no teammates left to help. Just trying to bait in the opponents to try and make some sort of audacious play himself. One bullet left in the clip and runs out. Has to go to the G7. Scout could just spam away at close range, but it isn't going to be enough. It was the brawl out between these two teams, and it is won by millimeters by Lara. So they are going to continue forward in this game. And unfortunately,
no.
I believe that was Lexis who has now gone down.
The worst part about it, how much HP were left on that Wraith. It must be down to like the last 10 or 15 points as the Peacekeeper got accurate into the chest as well as those G7 scouts penetrating it as well. So unfortunate, but we're about to watch Fnatic, who might just have a bit of a better Cinderella story in this game as they're still fighting around Skulltown. 12 squads are remaining. And those 12 squads, they're all fighting for another few points, which is, of course, not making it that easy, Tom. Especially as everybody's hiding somewhere. Pardon. And we're back with CT.
Yeah, they're in a pretty safe spot at the moment of the game. The rest of the team will have to move further into his position, and this is something that I sort of expected over time. Is that sniper now becomes fairly worthless? Like,
Yeah.
okay, sure, there's closer range battles that can go, or longer range battles that can still go down with players up and below. That's the one thing that is with this current ring, is that there's still going to be quite a distance in height because of the above positions that people can grab. But at the same time, it's just not worth that scope. It's not worth the longbow when you can get yourself an R99 with actually a decent amount of ammo and the golden wingman. That's exactly what you want towards the end of the game. Have this sort of accurate gun that you can sort of hit the shots with, and then go on to the one that's just going to spam bullets into the chest with the last few HP.
100% agreed on that. Really, though. R99 with not any extended magazine is shot empty in 2 seconds, and that's the unfortunate part, right? That is where early on you would have benefited from grabbing those attachments like an extended light, like a barrel stabilizer, or something like that. But at this point in time, please take a look how close, how small, how tiny the zone is. We're talking about overall 26 players. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, this is what the game is like at the moment within Apex. Everybody just trying their best to survive. Stanny actually has himself a Mastiff as well, so he's going to be able to finish off the majority of Team SOA. And we are starting to lose players as the early rotators actually begin. But you can see from Fnatic, they're not taking any of those risks. They're going to wait until the last second. They know that in terms of armor, they are in a pretty poor state. Even just in terms of any healing spots, they're in a pretty poor position. Stampy now going to make their way fairly early in towards this final zone, and they're sort of looking to just try and hold on the edge of it. Again, not pushing into the middle. The middle of it is where everybody's going to try and go. This is a much more shut off area. Either teams will have to go in this direction if they're running away, or if they're trying to run towards it, it's literally a angle chokehold.
I think you could call it a meat grinder. That's probably a quite adequate word. So
Same as your Origin profile picture.
I'm not
Either
going
way,
there, Tom. I'm not going
Fnatic are going to be going for the rotations. And now this is where they start the fights. But even with the low armor, they're still doing a lot of damage.
Oh.
But it's all going to come down to just one man left. Nicola, the last man trying to survive. And it's not going to be happening for Fnatic this time. They got close to getting into the final stages of that one. But I think it was just overall not having enough armor. They still managed to remove a player or two as they took the fights. Unfortunately, it isn't enough. And you can see Stanny still on that roof, the player that just helped to finish them off. 5 kills for him already. We've seen him, I believe it was him, fighting with the Mastiff, which is just a filthy weapon when we get into these sort of closer range battles. And he's going to be trying to close out some of the players just below him at the moment using the grenades.
The question, though, is, Tom, is there too much left in the Mastiff? How much ammunition has he already used for it? Because we know you can't replenish that. You cannot refill. You cannot restock on those golden bullets. So it really depends, right? But let's imagine that he didn't waste them all. Then he's in a perfect spot as his weapon is the perfect tool, the ideal one to take them all down in those close range fights. As now the Wraith, as Impulse, is going a little more aggressive. I'm not quite sure how much he's overall benefiting from taking that aggression, but it seems like it has paid off by now. He didn't take any damage. And now the question is, when do you pull through? Because this seems to be just a safety escape. This seems to be just a parachute in case things are going downhill anytime soon.
Well, yeah, this is all about the ring as well. It's counting down to the last few seconds, and you can see that all the teams are trying to get into the center. Stampy and his team are already there. They've managed to get right into the middle of the ring, and that's where we're going to see the rotation for some of these remaining teams. Stanny also managing to do damage with the grenades. We've seen them throwing those off of the roof and have lowered it down to just 6 squads remaining. And I imagine that's where their rotation has gone as well. The Wraith portal led right to this point. But in just a moment's time, we're going to have to witness the battle. There are still 6 squads standing right within this tiny ring. And now the spray comes through. Already one of the players will be removed. That's the thing. There's a few one-man squads just surviving at the moment. And just look at all the loot that's being retrieved onto that R99. Remember, he only picked that up a couple of minutes ago. It's now almost stacked.
This is so pivotal, because otherwise he would have been in so much trouble when it comes down to close range fights. But now, first of all, he's in a lot of trouble as his teammate has been dropped down. That is Lifeline hitting the ground. And the Arc Star that should give them a moment of safety, a moment of security. As in the meantime, she's going to be picked up, and he himself is under pressure. And so we are about to experience one uncomfortable fight going the way of CT. 4 more squads remaining, trapped in a small room where the room is hitting the boundaries, because you cannot really escape. Everybody is awaiting you to come out. You just got to really survive.
Yeah, the other thing as well is you don't know where this final zone is actually going to center, but some nice shots onto Dual Media. That'll be one man from their team hitting the deck. And the problem is in 45 seconds, that ring's going to start centering in. Now, I believe we are going to have the other team we were watching just moments ago just on the edge of this. And there is the Wraith. They're actually going to go pushing, try and remove them from action now. But the problem is they're taking so much damage themselves. The Lifeline's going to be dropped to the deck. And it's Pepega. They're one of our top teams from last season. They've just been eliminated in 4th place. We've still got a couple more to go, however. And it's going to be, an attempted push onto the roof. Is that going to be enough? Oh, this is a bit of a mistake coming in, but they'll be able to make it up anyway eventually. And there we go, taking the battle versus the guys on the roof, but actually losing a lot of HP themselves in these positions. They've set up some armor ready for them to come back for the retrieval, and they're going to try and just heal up. But in a moment, that zone's going to move, and they need to find the middle.
But you saw how much time it took, right? And this pretty much maybe cost them their lives. In this case, it cost them at least the opportunity to kill another squad. 3 more remaining, and it's time to heal up. It's time to stay alive. That ring is closing in, and who's going to take the first spot? Who's going to be number 1 in the second match we're broadcasting today, Tom? Because pressure is building up high. Another squad down, and that's going to be nobody else than herself brought to the ground. But is the Golden Sheem actually going to be there in time? Because it seems like that squad might be all done and dusted any second soon. The ring, it still hurts her. She still stays alive, needs to get in there, and it's perfectly timed to get that Wraith. But those shots, so accurate, and so you're out. But I'm not quite sure who's actually remaining alive.
Yeah, it's actually the guys at CT still standing, taking the fights towards the end, but they're only going to manage to get themselves a second place. It was the Lifeline. And, well, I remember we were watching the team from before. Was it Stay or something along those lines? They've been fighting all the way through. I don't remember seeing them go down. So they might be our final victors here, managing to do so much with grenades. I think 5 kills when we last watched them, but they got a couple more since then. And if they were the ones to survive at the end, then maybe just proves that you can actually get a fairly high amount of kills and actually win yourself the game as well.
Right. Perfectly said. And
it was MPE. That's who we saw at the end. So I don't know if we actually witnessed them throughout that game.
Well, it doesn't matter, because, we saw a phenomenal second game, I would say.
Yeah, another one of those sort of late round battles. We had a few of our sort of top teams within there. Pepega Squadron, currently 3rd within the league, managing to get very, very close to the victory, but unable to do too much more. Fnatic also being eliminated. They're also within the top 20 teams in the league. So, no victory for either of them. And as said, I'm not actually sure who got the victory there. So, some more points going one way. Of course, that is only game 2. There are 4 more to go, so make sure you don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a short moment.
starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I'm looking for the road, eyes on the sky, taking it one step at a time. I know that I'm not alone, yeah, we'll be fine. Taking it one step at a time. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? 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 Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Have we gotten lost? I'm starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Have we gotten lost? I'm starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get.
And we're back with nothing else than some good Apex Legends. For a millisecond, I wanted to say Counter-Strike, but of course, it's the only Battle Royale with 3 players, great abilities, and big fun. On my side is the lovely man Tombizz, and we have experienced already great Apex. I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's much more of this premier gameplay coming our way.
Yeah, 2 champions in this lobby, and you can't really get much better than that. It is Flavor of the Month, and I think Flavor of the Month are also... Wait, no, was it Flavor of the Month who are in here? They are, aren't they? Yeah, with Taylor. They're back-to-back champions. They played under Flavor of the Month, which is just a name they've come up with, and also Riddles, the organization. They've won 2 seasons, I believe. And then it's also the guys over at Tiny Hang Gang who have also won the last season. So this should be a bit of a brawl. Looking forward to watching both these teams face off. But at the moment, we are going to be watching onto Otter. And he's already going to be looking right into the center of this zone. So he's fairly happy at the moment. His team, in terms of weaponry, not in the best state. I'm hoping that Havoc has some sort of turbocharger on it. Otherwise, okay, it does. Then we're fine. I'm okay with that weapon now. Other than that, it's sort of like one of those cars that you had to wind up back in the olden days when you don't have the turbocharger on it. It's just like, oh, let me just go at the back and wind it up. I know you're a car man. You know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. I mean, listen. If I understood you correctly right now, I really stopped doing all references in that sense, right? So
Yep.
I won't do it. I'm trying to avoid. I still didn't find anyone who's joining me on that, you know, because very honestly, a free cylinder engine doesn't really work. I mean, it works, but I mean, it's boring. It's annoying. I'm going off that. I'm going off that. I'm very
Okay.
sorry.
I
And
was just talking about wind up cars. It's much more simple
Oh!
than talking about engines.
Oh, right.
You went way in. You went past my knowledge of cars.
I
For
was
me,
actually
you press
real
go,
cars.
it goes, and that's
Yeah.
it.
I mean, that's a good impression of cars.
It really isn't. But
No,
let's move swiftly away from the car references and talk about Taylor of Flavor of the Month. They've got themselves Spitfire R99, decent combo, and already going to be bringing in some extra loot. One of the perks of the Lifeline, which I don't feel like is used as much as it could be, but at the same time, it is also a massive giveaway of where you are. One of the things I really liked about Team YP is there's one of the buildings near Runoff that they actually go to quite regularly, where they actually just build up as many of those Lifeline packages as possible and then just block all of the doors except one.
you're an evil genius. That is an evil.
That's not me. That's Team YP. That's Team YP. I don't give me credit for that. That's
I
them.
I love how you say just Team YP and don't say out the name. It's
Because you can't say out the name. You're not allowed to.
it's very responsible. No, I do respect that. I do respect that. I find it very unfortunate that they dropped out of Counter-Strike, but that's a different story. I would have loved to buy those stickers. Nevertheless, we are about to go for Classic Cascades. In the meantime,
I'm pretty sure they were told to leave, by the way.
I know, I think so as well. I remember that. I remember it was so sad. Yeah, but you know, an adult game, it can feature that. God knows why. But overall, we're still in the beginning phase. Skulltown seems to be somewhat close to be the center. And at the moment, this is the beginning phase. This is where I have the most important question. Which is your most underrated weapon in the game? Quickly.
Underrated weapon.
Underrated.
I don't know. I kind of just go for all the ones that everybody likes. I actually don't mind the Havoc once you have the turbocharger on it. I think that's a fairly
Alright.
decent gun and can shred quite a lot of armor. But without the turbocharger, it is a flaming pile of trash.
That was a very harsh description. Was that needed, Tom? Was that needed?
Well, it's a gun. It's not going to get offended.
Oh, yeah. It's 2019. I'm not gonna go there. Okay, I'm not. Rather dropping it, especially as a German. And so, Paradox and Co. just looting as usual, seeing that their armory is not looking that great at that point given, but market might be a good position in the beginning phase. It's very uncomfortable and stacked in most cases. But now they can just enter, go for it, trade, see what they can grab, and hope for the best they can get.
Yeah, in terms of weapons, they're actually not doing bad. I think Longbow R99 is one of the best combos you can get. It is a bit of both, and some pinging shots coming off already from Paradox, just able to almost give his opponents a little bit of a warning. They're not looking to take any real battles just yet. Just go, look, we're here. I'm not missing my shots at the moment, so back off.
Very well said. And as they're backing off, shield cell is going to be put to use. And instantly being tagged again is not the most comfortable feeling. Still, when I saw correct, we saw 6 medikits over there onto Pathfinder, over there onto Paradox. So healing is not their problem at the moment. It might just though start to get uncomfortable once they're running out of cover. And this rock, it does not provide too much. The healing has to be done immediately. 8 seconds it's gonna take, and you don't know how much the other squad is gonna pressure you.
Yeah, the main problem is as well is the squads that are currently over there are also further into the ring. So their sort of way out is either to go over the rocks, which is what they were originally thinking of doing based off of the Pathfinder ult. But by the looks of things, well, he'll just duck out of there nice and swiftly, swinging around the corner. Teammates will make it through as well. It's actually surprising though that they had a fair few exit routes like based off the abilities of their characters, and they didn't actually really utilize them. But they're going to use it here to get themselves up on towards the tower and gain themselves the info in terms of where the next ring will be.
And as they get the information, we're about to switch over, and we're going to see Taylor from Flavor of the Month. One unique name. And as Flavor of the Month is exiting, I think it was a fight they nearly got into, if I'm not totally wrong. Noff also not looking so good on the shield bases. But instantly, we're going back to Paradox. Seems like we might have a Skulltown fight in our hands anytime soon.
Yeah, they've got quite a long rotation here to get into the new ring. Now they know where the next one will be as well, so they can start looking to try and position a little bit further forward. Also, Alt coming in probably from Bangalore. I'm just going to hazard a guess and say it's a Bangalore rather than anything else. And shots being taken. This is where the longbow is a little bit more diminished, just because they don't have a decent enough scope on it.
Yeah.
You need a little bit more to be able to find those shots more easily. So Paradox can be forgiven in this scenario, but the fact is they don't really want to be going in that direction anyway. They need to make their way closer in towards the ring. They've got about a minute. They're also going to be watching to see if they can catch anybody rotating, because at the moment that's sort of what you're looking for. It's be caught rotating or catch others rotating, and then once you finish off your opposing teams, then you can sort of make your way far more safely in towards the ring. Another thing you'll notice when watching the pros play Apex, grenades are some of the most valuable things you ever play in this game. Like if you are sort of a newbie player, haven't invested too much time into the game, a bit like Zescht, then you need to know that grenades are actually very valuable to your gameplay.
Oh, thanks, Tom. I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
Thank you. No, I really appreciate the piece of advice here. I was always throwing them away because they seemed worthless. Though I think actually Thermite is the only grenade I would rather dodge, very honestly. Though it's better to
oh,
have
I don't
grenades
know.
than to...
In the late game, the thermite ones can be kind of filth because you can
Right,
throw them
right.
into corners and burn people out of the angles. They're a bit more of a, I would say they're more of a tactical grenade, like a Molotov. Like
Mhm.
in Counter Strike, if you're trying to do damage, a Molotov's not going to be the
Not the
best
thing,
weapon. Or
no.
bet, yeah, but if you're trying to section off angles, stop people pushing you when you're trying to revive a teammate, like
Yeah.
you really can tactically use them very well, and just set up a couple of them. And that's the thing. If you have a big backpack, pick up as many as you can.
I mean, I never played Counter Strike, so it's also good to know how to use the Molotov. No, I appreciate it. Really, just wasn't aware of it. But I mean, maybe the man Otter. I don't see any grenades on him. He should have taken your piece of advice here. And so his Bangalore only can drop some explosive mortar shells later on, but has nothing to throw in the direction of enemies at this point given. The
Mm.
zone is starting to close in, 45 more seconds until that is
Oh,
finished, and somebody seems to land into the crosshair of Otter anytime soon. There you got the Havoc, and instantly you're out of the server. Good night for whoever that was, as they can just continue their path, got a relaxed time, and enter the zone in a bit of seconds.
yeah. Something else that is worth mentioning for anybody at home. You might have seen Otter do it just as he was falling from a great height. If you kick just before you hit the ground, you do not get the sort of little bit of stunning as you hit the floor, and it means you can move a lot more quickly. So
Right.
definitely something worth doing if you are just jumping from a height. But here we go, Paradox in within a battle once again.
And as once more, that is gonna be the Wraith running away. Paradox is realizing that, but not going after it because she's too fast at the moment. With ult in combination with her Q, still spotting it, and those shots are unfortunately not landing. You said it earlier, Tom. It does not work with the 2-time scope and the longbow, but at least a bit of upgraded armor is what we've been seeing. And if I see this correctly, right, we might just have a clash of two teams coming in any second soon.
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Otto was to go all the way around the rock rather than trying to go through. Like
Right.
it's such a high risk position. You're likely going to know that there's teams in there already, unless you really are feeling ballsy. Like we've mentioned it so many times this broadcast, but going and killing them, even killing two players and then losing, has literally zero value. You just want to be surviving. That's going to be a nice little upgrade, at least for Paradox. He's going to have the longer range scope. The only real problem is the next few zones are going to start forcing the players closer and closer together, and that sniper's value will be fairly diminished at the moment.
Putting in a quite good way. It's nice to see that. I mean, the zone still has its size, to say it like that, but everybody's so close by that I think we're gonna stay action packed. We had in the previous games fights just occurring from time to time, but right here, this zone is basically an invitation for a skirmish, for a massacre coming our way. And as one team after another continues fighting, they know one is at least towards pits, trying to take the lifeline drop. Nothing too much and too cool coming out of it, except that extended mag on the Spitfire, which could be put to use later on as suppressive fire or just spraying through smoke. But for the moment, the squad flavor of the month is not going to face any danger any problem anytime soon.
No, they're right on the edge of the ring. So the thing is as well, I think this may be a tactical choice. I'm not entirely sure, but you'll see teams like go for the almost, I want to say, the slimmer side of the zone, because if you're in that sort of the bigger side where obviously the larger chunk is actually going to be coming out of it, you're going to be having a lot more teams rotating from that position. And that's currently where we're seeing Otter on the other side. There are so many teams trying to rotate in. He does actually end up going the long way around, as mentioned. But the fact is, so do other teams. Like, it's one of those things where it's like no one wants to go through the choke point except the one team that wins initially. And then so everybody else has just gone, okay, we'll now go around the outside. We'll play it safe. But if everybody's playing it safe, you kind of end up with no one playing safe.
Right. Yeah, legit point. And as everybody has to meet up once in a while, at least the Otter side of things are having a relaxed time for the moment. Ring is now about to close, but that should not put too much pressure onto it as the ring is taking its time and is turtling around. 12 squads still remaining. The exit of the bunker could become interesting, but they're not even choosing that path. Directly going into those suburbs, as I like to call it, and those suburbs, they're giving them the safety and the space to reconsider their game plan. What is the most interesting part to me, Tom, is that we're talking about an energy weapon that has actually so much spare ammunition with it, which costs so much space. But if he likes that havoc and it works, I think nobody's able to complain.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a good weapon, but that's one of the biggest problems with the gun itself, is even once you have it kitted out, you have to hold so much ammo, and the ammo is actually a lot rarer than a lot of other guns.
Yep.
You find it in small portions. So for Otter, this is quite difficult. The thing is, he just managed to find it down with a grenade. You can see the second they manage to find that first player, they go pushing in, start shredding, but actually it's going to be Otter to end up going down. They did manage to kill off the remaining players, though, so it won't matter too much because Force is there to help him out. And Otter will be revived and just use a cheeky little Phoenix kit. I think he actually might be holding a golden backpack as well, so that's done in half the time and always going to be super valuable for the squad.
That was not that comfortable, actually. When you take a look how much he's near to the zone, how much they could be pressured in, and whilst there was a man down, but everybody else stayed relaxed. And as we're switching over, that's Soaker we're seeing back in the pits. And the problem is right here, Tom. We're talking about choke points. They need to go through in the matter of 1 minute. And that is fairly soon.
Yeah, this is going to be a bit tough, especially fighting into the pit as well. It is a pretty horrible position. 3 angles where teams can rotate into the pit. But the fact is, getting there is going to be very difficult indeed. And you can see they're going to try and use the Wraith portal to get themselves round into the corner, all the abilities utilized, and will actually gain them some ground. The problem is the rest of the team getting into this spot is going to be very difficult. And Zoc, just trying to do the damage, actually falls further into the grenades and just has to try and escape just to be able to heal. Nobody's going to be going through the portals. That is pretty much something you don't see unless one of the teams has taken a higher risk position, because going through that portal normally means you're going to have 3 players waiting on the other side. R99 wingman, pretty much as standard as it gets in terms of a setup. The problem is at the moment, the zone is eventually going to force them to move their way forward. You can see the second they start going, they're getting sprayed down by their opposition in the pit. Lots of damage being taken, but now the team will come in to join him. Can't go through the portal while using the Q, so just going to have to time it as perfectly as possible, and we'll be able to get out of there. But he is shredding his healing utility at the moment.
And this is where it starts to become problematic, right? One of your teammates is down, the nades don't do the damage. Your lifeline is in a lot of trouble, and you got to get out of here. You just got to escape. And the pits, it might be your own coffin. You're trapped, and he's running, but instantly tagged. The entire squad got to say bye-bye for that one, as the pits belong to Che, whoever that might be. And in this case, look who's waiting on the exit.
Yeah, the thing is that team is now going to deal with the exact same problem, and that's the fact that Flavor of the Month are now waiting on the other side. The only problem they also have is that there's going to be many different teams pushing into this side of the zone in just a moment. So they need to clear the players within the pit and then also be ready for the teams that are coming from the other side as well. Now, there is an opportunity for the team within the pit to also go round in the other direction at the moment because the pit is still fairly open. At least two sides can escape. And we're going to go back onto Otter and actually switch back again because Taylor's just managed to find himself a kill, eliminating Team DB. I believe that was just a one-man squad. So Diablo will be out.
Oh, look at
And
it though.
is he
6
going to
left.
spot the team back? Yeah, there's still a team in there. Either they've been taking a hell of a lot of damage or they went round. So they're either going to come through that little gap just on the other side where the ring's currently closing, or they're going to have to run out here.
Well, you talk about a gap, right? Suddenly, look where we are here. Otto, in a lot of pressure situation. I mean, actually, I'm taking that back, but how long? For how long is he going to stay there? For how long does the possibility exist to get alive out of the situation? Because very realistically, where in God's name do you want to go from here? You're trapped behind a hut. You cannot move left, right, or center because everybody is pinning you down. The poor man is already suffering wounds. This is not going to be a long life for them, Tom. I got my doubts this is going to work out for Otter.
Yeah, they're just trying to hide in the corner at the moment. He looks fairly calm and collected, but there goes the grenade, and he's going to be forced into the zone. Just about manages to get back in, but has to try and get this Phoenix kit down before he falls, and it'll be the grenade to put him down. It's Flavor of the Month trying to force them out of this angle. They are a fairly aggressive team in the way they like to play their game, and at the moment, they are just bombarding their opponents with grenades. Otter will be revived. Looking to try and heal once again. He still has a Phoenix kit available to him, but just goes for the health pack instead, just to make sure that he'll actually be able to survive the zone. Gonna have to try and run his way forward, and he is still got that golden backpack, so that Phoenix kit will come off nice and quick, and he can look to try and get in. The fact is his teammate that has every single bit of pressure on his shoulders because the Wraith is looking to try and teleport them further forward into the ring.
Oh, this was so important, but I think the Wraith was instantly down. Yes, it was, and now this is starting to become problematic. She's once more escaping, trying to take it again, taking a lot of HP damage at the end. And he's just like, I'm out of here. I can try whatever I want. I'm not going to survive this under no circumstance. And the Wraith, is it going to actually gonna take him? Yeah, it's going to work. And this is so unfortunate. Take a look at his face. This is just desperation coming in the final stage of the ring. We only have a few more teams left, if I'm not totally wrong. 2?
Yeah,
We missed a lot of them, didn't we?
Yeah, Flavor of the Month has been doing damage across the board, and while they're now going to be looking to try and get into some elevated positions, how far up can Taylor really get? Right up to the top he goes, as we are going to watch on to Alex W, who's just going to look to try and be the one to finish this. This is the replay of earlier on. Now, this is what we mean. We have two of the champions currently in this event. They both are surviving late into the game. Remember, we had the opponents of Taylor get into the top 2. I wonder if it was them versus each other, because if that's the case, we could have some of the best battles throughout this whole tournament so far. And while we're about to witness what will be the final fight as the ring is about to go down. The shots coming in. It is Jazaz to fall and leaving just a couple of players left to try and survive on the other side. It is the spray down, as it will be another kill coming in. This should be everything now for the guys over at Flavor of the Month, but they will fall to Nitro. I believe this is Alex W and his squad as well. So this is the battle of the two champions. It is going to be Taylor just trying to get back into the zone, spotting out the opponent, and they will take the victory. Flavor of the Month managing to win it out.
What a move. And that is Flavor of the Month. As you said, snatching it, bringing it home. And actually,
do we get the replay? That's the question. Sorry. Can we? Yeah, I'd love to watch this from Alex W's point of view as well.
And I think if I'm not totally wrong, this was where they got after the fight from the Portal team, which was Otter, if I'm not totally wrong.
I think that's just about to happen. I think that was with 3 squads remaining.
Yeah, you see the smoke. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
They're just about to kill off Otter. They're waiting on the other side. This is where Flavor of the Month were pretty much chilling. And Alex and his team were just in other battles. And I think that actually worked out wonderfully for Flavor of the Month, because you can see Alex is really worried about teams actually pushing him from behind. Now, they finally managed to kill off this squad and just try and get themselves some healing apparatus. But the thing is, the ring was kind of unkind to them. It forced them into the clutches of their opponents. And I think it was actually the runaround attempted by Jazaz on the Wraith. He was trying to get him behind them by going round, and I think he ended up being caught because of it.
Exactly. Yeah, you saw that he was actually killed outside of the zone. And that is putting you in an uncomfortable spot. There we see it again, just missed by centimeters. And once that is happening, you might just get a little bit mad or tilled, because at that point, you were actually able to gain that high ground. It was just missed by a bit. The Kraber shot also whiffed, and so it seemed like the story was about to be written, the tint about to dry on the paper, as even the Bangalore strike did not help their opponents, but nevertheless, as we see it again, look how cluttered they are. They're in a really, you said it, you're in a really uncomfortable spot with the choke point just up ahead of them. One of their teammates dying, trying to capitalize on it. Works to some degree, but look at the HP. This is where you know it's over.
Yeah, I think this is where things got really tough. Now, just utilizing the other players,
no.
but I think he's actually going to get killed by the zone. Yeah, so just unfortunate timing and just trying to survive while his teammate did the battle. But yeah, ultimately it was Flavor of the Month to take that victory. But these are going to be two teams that we expect to see all the way throughout this tournament. They are the sort of top dogs within the EU Pro League, and yeah, to have them as the last two squads within server was very, very lucky for us. So yeah, we got to witness the Tiny Hand Gang versus Flavor of the Month. Flavor of the Month came out on top this time, but we'll see if we get a rematch, as we'll have another game coming up in just a moment.
Where do we go from here? Have we gotten lost? We're starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? Have we gotten lost? I'm starting to think we're out of touch. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, gotten lost. I'm starting to think we're out of time. When did it disappear? Settled in with the dust. Forget what it was that made us us. Walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs. But it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? I'm looking for the road, eyes on the sky, taking it one step at a time.
And we're back with nothing else than some Apex Legends, keeping myself here quite short. On my side is Tombizz, a wonderful bolt man. We're about to see match 4 out of 6. We saw in the previous game a spectacular end. I think you have to say the spectacular end
Yeah.
with pretty much a positional fight on nothing else than brutally trying to get out of a hut or away from a hut, and then being actually caught in a third-party process. Might be the same happening again, but we know, Tom, a slow beginning phase. It's just about being equipped.
Yeah, Krems and his team looking to try and get themselves a second win on the board so far within the Pro League, which can be easier said than done. Also, you like the thing that the leaderboard is a little bit misleading with is one win may have actually been less valuable than a second place, depending on how many people were actually in the game. Like you can get points, I believe, with only 5 teams in the game. So that's I think that's the minimum, or at least was the minimum. So yeah, 5 points win with 5 teams. You could have a second place where you get 80% of the point, and there's 20 teams. You're going to get far more for that. So definitely worth noting that sometimes the amount of wins on the board is actually not that valuable. But we're already witnessing just some of the looting coming out from Krems. Havoc with a turbocharger we've seen is quite a deadly weapon. But other than that, you can see him holding on to a few things for later, just to try and give himself a bit of a boost. And well, we've already got a much better setup at the moment coming out from Scourge.
I mean, that is purple, and blue. I mean, the Apex gods are looking down on him, and they really want to do him a favor, don't they? With the lifeline drop, it's even getting more purple. Actually, pardon, that was not even a lifeline drop if I'm totally wrong. As Longbow is now well equipped. This is a little deja vu I have here, Tom. Still, we're not. The first zone didn't come down. He has a purple Mac on both
Ooh.
weapons and purple armor, but instantly under fire makes it a bit more complicated.
I'll be honest, I feel like anybody fighting against him now is going to need to run away. Like
Yeah.
this longbow with the detection on it is just going to be so valuable. They already have a fair bit of like healing apparatus, although he is running out of shield cells, so just going to be peeking out to try and take some of these fights. His teammates also having a little problem with healing up, and he does have his Wraith ultimate if they really needed to escape this position. And
He does.
actually, he might have to utilize it here. Now, this is one of the most effective ways of reviving a teammate. Use your portal, put it next to them, they crawl in, and then you teleport away. But he's just going to be spotting out. There's currently 5 players in his crosshair at the moment. Bear that in mind. Now, they're going to be running off, and there's some in the distance as well who may actually end up helping him out. They've also got the revive off as well.
This was so helpful because the third party basically came in, gave his Pathfinder teammate the possibility to revive the remaining person on the ground. That was a lifeline. And so they're pretty much back to their usual strength, working in the end. Though you have to say, you said it, purple armor, an extremely well-equipped longbow, and still they were not looking too good in that one fight we have seen in the beginning part.
Yeah, no, it seems like their opponents did a very good job. You could just see shots currently being missed from the longbow. Could be based off the distance and not having the barrel stabilizer. Normally
Right.
allows you to shoot slightly further, and also in terms of how straight it goes. Like the best way to test that really is if you watch it on an R99. You'll have quite a bit of dip if you have a really low one, and it's pretty much a laser beam once you get it up to that golden stabilizer.
I have to say, before we get into another fight, Tom, I have to give you a major compliment with the word healing apparatus. That is by far one of the most creative versions of that I have ever heard in my entire life. No, for real. I am impressed.
Well,
I just had to get it off my chest.
clearly, I this is my first rodeo. Let's put it that way. I really like the positioning gathered already by
Right.
Tic Tac Tactics. A difficult team name to say. I think they did that on purpose. But the reason I remember is because they're one of the teams who've been right in the top 20 pretty much all the way through the seasons. Not off to the best start so far. Currently 33rd. I expect to see them rise through the ranks, and they will be one of the teams I expect to be picked up later on by an organization. They definitely seem to have the talent and the consistency to bring themselves through regular top finishes. And the other thing as well is the way that the meta works within this game is that you may not see the person with the craziest aim or the necessary best player in the world being right near the top of the scoreboard. It's a lot more tactical game at the moment. Like
Yeah.
that's the one thing I actually enjoy about the fact that kills aren't so valuable is that we get to see the teams with the better rotations and the smart plays actually get further into these games, and the players who are just nutty aimers at
Fully
the moment
agreed.
are at least going to be struggling a little bit more.
100%. And I mean, this is the typical part about, you can be the sickest aimer, but if you're being third partied, you're being third party, period. You
Yep.
are then in so much trouble that you cannot put up the resistance in the end. So decision making is a pivotal aspect, a critical aspect that changes it so much around in this game. And we saw previously, right, in the winning squads, they were not having like phenomenal 10 kill games. They were playing consistently with a positional advantage and the intelligence to take fights when they know they're capable of winning them. Talking about capable of winning, the longbow does it with the long range. Purple armor should be shut down to 0, and now they seem to be the aggressors to take the fight any second.
Yeah, Krems himself, the Wraith with the purple armor, the person you want to be sort of regressing in these scenarios. And I wonder, no, he's not going to take it himself, but he is going to ping the wonderful Peacekeeper for a teammate. Is that also going to be, yeah, that's perfect. Pretty much everything you would need for a Peacekeeper is going to be just still around in that building. So he's going to be fairly happy for his teammate who's going to be able to retrieve that. And we are going to switch up over onto Scorch, who's again taking a bit of a longer range battle. This is a position where you don't often see the ring fall.
Ooh.
So you can already see the upper spots taken. Now he's starting to connect. And those are some wonderful shots. Over
That was
200
nasty.
damage done combined. And that's going to mean that even though it's not a kill, even though it's not really going to make that much difference at this point of the game, his opponents are going to have to keep healing. And that's so
Yes.
valuable in this sort of match where you use up your healing stuff. I'm not going to say apparatus again because I don't want to reuse it. And
No, it's amazing.
and then you're sort of in a harder decision later in the game.
You're very right about that. What you're saying, I would agree, but the thing that I am somewhat, so surprised about, right, is that the alternative. I mean, the longbow for me is, how do I put it the best way? The longbow is the best hybrid of a shotgun and a sniper rifle. And you might be first of all thinking like, what the hell is this guy talking about? But
Yep.
yeah, no, it's legit. The matter of fact that the amount of damage you deal when you're just using it without a scope, like when you're shooting it from the hip, is surprisingly good. It is just surprisingly good what accuracy and damage it delivers. So I think it is the best combination, especially at the point we're at right now. to once more display the pure strength of him. And once more, the damage dealt, nobody though pinned down and taken out. Fairly good though for the side of Scrooge.
Yeah, the only problem I'm seeing at the moment is their own healing is not at the best. Obviously, I can't see how many batteries he has in terms of shields, but with only one shield cell, you do worry a little bit. I'm not really able to spot anybody at the moment. Still 14 teams remaining, and as I said, this final zone, I think, is going to be one that actually catches out a lot of teams because
Yeah.
this is not a normal spot. I can't actually think of a single game I've casted so far that's ended around this position. Now, for obvious reasons, some of the best teams will still have strategy set up, and I think that's going to be one of the more interesting things about commentating a battle royale is that is going to be one of the major spots. Is you're going to have your favorite positions. You're going to need to know where to rotate, where to position yourself in the later rings. And it was actually mentioned on some of the previous broadcasts that sometimes you feel that the ring can be a little bit more predictable with the way that it's actually going to go. So if you can then start working out the rough pattern of some of these final rings, you're going to be set. And I think, again, I mentioned Team YP, they actually had a ring center in the same point almost twice. And they managed to win and then I think finished third or fourth in another game just by putting themselves in the right building.
So the zip line being used, 14 squads left. Round 2 is now coming to an end as we see a ring closing in. So far, not too much action we have witnessed, Tom. Not too much action we have seen. Though we actually saw, and that's still a surprising aspect to me, is very interesting fights. But we should see two squads meeting each other anytime soon. Just mentioning that, the longbow is going to be put in use, and a few sniper shots go in the right direction. Nobody is pinned or downed yet. And actually, it seems like Rave stays a little bit behind for the moment, but now they need to take him mid-air. I think this is a third team, isn't it?
Oh, nice shot, but then gets one back in return. Only a white knockdown shield. You can see him leaning his head in the cab, just like, look, get round the corner. That he will just be able to do it. Doesn't have too much to worry about, as it doesn't look like there's a team actually pushing in behind them. The other thing as well is the amount of damage he was able to do to the squad within the building probably actually helped another team wipe the squad within the building. So they know that there's going to be some lower HP players. In fact, his teammate Ori has managed to get one using grenades, so that's always going to be very helpful for them. They're not really trying to get into these battles and such. It's more just, again, whittling away teams, lowering the amount of members they have to face off against. If they can turn a 3-man squad into a 2-man squad, that would definitely help them later down the line. Yeah. They're also starting to get upgrades of their own, as Ori has just proven with his newfound purple armor.
The newfound purple armor is the thing you are looking for. Now, just waiting out the situation. He himself, unfortunately, does not have the X-ray scope, the golden one, which would help him so much in that situation. But he's rather coming down to his teammates. And I just ask myself, who actually made the portal? Who got that close and made the portal directly next to them is the question. But he's going aggressively into it, staying alive, but still under pressure he is. And I'm not quite sure if that's so helpful, right? Because he, first of all, is under pressure. And second of all, the opponent team knows where he is right now. Could make this all a bit more uncomfortable.
Oh, and the bigger problem is they've got teams pushing him from behind. Can he get into the portal? No. That'll be the biggest thing. If he can survive through the back of the portal, there's a chance, but that will actually be Krems going down. I think he knew that on the other side there was going to be another team anyway, so Barrage coming through from the back to be able to at least close down Krems. His teammates seem to be just running around and trying their best to survive, but Ori, already down within inches of his life, will be able to heal himself all the way back to full using the Phoenix kit. The only problem is Aim Vertical, which is, oh wow, that's an interesting name, is going to be left still with just white armor, which it really is a problem. If he can get to his teammate's body, there's at least an upgrade over there. But I think they know as well as he does that this is going to be the case. Now, they have managed to at least retrieve the banner. Revival at this point of the game seems very unlikely.
Couldn't have said any better. Oh, take a look at it. Even your teammates downed. And now the lone squad. I think this could be actually their killers. I'm not so sure about it from the positioning. No, it's a little further away. There we actually saw their...
No, it's Barrage. It was Barrage. So there's another team that's come around the back. They flank the flankers. Astro looking to try and do the same to what has just been done to the opponents. Interesting that he's put the hand cam over the map. I would say that as a commentator, he's removed one of the vital tools, and I am not a fan of him doing this. But at the same time, it might be utilized so that he can stream slightly more live and not have to worry about people actually pincering him. Shot slightly missed, but the second won't be. And that will be Ori. So that's one of the squads with Krems that we saw previously now going down, and a lot of loot onto this man to steal away. Threat detector pick back up, of course, and lots of healing gear to pick back up. It is now going to be 11 squads remaining. They've got themselves into the corner. I imagine with so many teams pushing in this direction, that's where the ring will be centering.
Yeah, but the question is, for me personally, how long do you want to stay in that corner? Because once you're known, you know that there's going to be an entire there's going to be an entire set of nades coming your way. Once you stay in that corner, and you're going to be present to any squad. So moving out of there seems to be the next step. Would make a lot of sense, and Astro is making his way out of the corner just a second. Taking a look at his weapon whilst they realize it's just a few more meters, not too much, until the next ring. But, it's about time that we see a fight to start over there as the forces are going to erupt. The Arc Star's coming around the corner. The zip line could be considered to go up there. I'm not quite sure if they're able to do so yet or if they're missing that one out.
I don't know. Yeah, this zone is definitely going to start edging in on them. Lots of space on the other side of the map, but this is what I sort of spoke about previously, that one side of the zone always gets absolutely chunked out. I do really hate the fact that he's covered the map. Like, I do understand it if they feel like they've been sniped before, because even if you haven't, it's peace of mind. I know from like in the past when I streamed, if I was ever playing, I would get that paranoia of, oh, maybe this guy actually was just screen watching me or whatever, and then it would get in your head. So it could just be based off that. But although the picture is handy, it's not handy for us, the fact that there is no map.
Now I'm asking myself, what is the game plan with that Bangalore we're seeing right now? For a second, it looked a lot like it might be. Did I just try? I think they just want to escape and want to leave no path from behind. I mean, that's the only logical explanation for me. I don't know what you think about it, but at that point, given, how come? There you go. Yeah, perfect. They pretty much bought themselves nothing else than a crowbar, and they want to open that door, going aggressively into it with nothing else than the ult being put to use. But the problem that starts to occur is a zone closing in right here, Tom.
The nades doing so much damage, though. They're actually going to help get one player down, but I think Volty might be about to lose his life to one of these players. A second teammate goes down, and that will be the elimination of Astro. Unfortunately, the positioning they had just wasn't too valuable. Instead, we're going to switch things up once again into a more central portion of the zone. 10 teams remaining, the door being battered in as they look to try and take the fight. I wonder if we've seen a Gibraltar all go in there or something, because they've actually put down the shield to try and defend against it. That's one of the main reasons you have the shield, is to defend yourself against your own ultimate. But the fact is, they're just going to have that Gibraltar on the deck and actually finished off.
So, unfortunately for you, Tom, your dream of a Gibraltar win is not going to come in, at least at this point, given, as the Russian squad is trying very hard to survive in this fight. Golden Backpack, we see right now, coming out and becoming very handy. It's not too many squads left, but still 10, so you're not in the point. You need to survive and prevail a little longer. And obviously, it's not like you're in a low-pressure situation. It starts to get a little gnarly. It starts to get a little hairy, and they're trying to escape by every manner, but you're taken down. Oh, take a look at it. It's so unfortunate. It's so incredibly unfortunate.
The only one man remaining on the team. Down to 8 squads. Even just surviving for the next couple of minutes could be enough to get you in within the points. Barrage still going, as we see them managing to pick up, and Extinct as well doing damage. But there we go. We are switching in onto Cynic from Barrage. They're spotting some of the loot out further back. They've seen a portal as well. They seem to be doing fairly well so far within this game. They are on quite a bit of a delay. We know that we get down to 8 squads fairly soon, but they will still be standing. So this is the moment where they actually watch for some of those rotations.
And he just waits to open the door and shoot anyone who comes in. Oh, just waiting. There
Peekaboo.
he goes. Oh, did he whiff the first shot? I'm not so sure, but take a look at the damage dealt. This is so unfortunate. But he's going to relax, look for the door. It's going to be like, oh, I'm going to see if anyone is coming through. But for the moment, healing up, hoping for the best. And did actually the squad die is what I'm asking myself right now.
I think we've already seen that push attempt to come through, but
Maybe.
lots of damage done at least, and they're going to have to rotate themselves as their house is just within the blast radius, so they're going to want to make themselves out of here eventually. Now, they've already used up some of their heavier healing aids, so it is going to be a bit more of a fast blast from the batteries. And with only one remaining, this could be a bit of a problem for Barrage, as they are starting to run out of their healing gear as well.
And as we are seeing that the zone is closing in 1 minute 30 and that we still have 11 squads left, I think we're a little bit behind with this stream, but nevertheless,
Yeah.
still makes it exciting in the end. Because we're once more in the ending phase where, you know, everything's about to erupt. This is a volcano, which is just gonna spit the lava out anytime soon. And standing there in this close range, in this uncomfortable angle, to say it like that, you know it can collapse anytime soon. Those sniper shots they need to hit from start on, they pretty much got another smoke wall coming in. Your longbow can hardly do anything at that point, and you have to do a 180 flip to go inside the zone. Take the white way around, funny-wise with the EVA 8, which you could call debatable, but they're choosing a different path, or at least here you see an upgrade coming in with the purple armor, but now it's time to run, or at least it feels like it's time to run.
Yeah, they're still fairly happy within their house for now. Still 40 seconds before the zone even starts to move, and being on the fatter edge, it will move much more quickly, but still take a little bit of time to actually get to them. So they're just waiting for the last moment, seeing if anybody's going to come over the hill. We know that from those rocks, a team does appear. So they want to be patient, not to be pincered in, basically. They want to make sure that they are the last second rotators and anybody else is just going to be in front of them, because if not, that's where they can slowly be surrounded. Already they start to take shots from within the buildings, but manage to get up onto the roofs. And this actually gives them a little bit of cover just based off the angle at which the roof is currently held.
And as we see, it's not looking better. Is it
Oh,
his teammate? It was his teammate blocking, wasn't it?
yeah.
Oh, so unfortunate here. And this is now costing once more time because you got to heal up. And it's not even a golden backpack being put to use. It seems like he's running out of proper medical equipment as well. Only using the syringes is not that great, but it seems like he had a medikit on himself as well. All of the teammates are somewhat wounded, and suddenly you start to see everything come down to the fight in a single house again. The zone is just stopping directly in front of
Whoa.
him. This is at least ruling out one exit, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a little bit lucky in terms of the ring. The only problem is now where the next one has gone leaves them absolutely screwed. Like,
Yeah.
it is on the other side. They know that there's multiple teams over in that direction. They're either going to be marking them for teammates to try and spot them out. And I think the main game here from Barrage is let's just wait. Let's give everybody else a chance to fight. We're not actually forced to move for another minute or so. Hopefully by then a team or two will fall down and we can see North, Extinct also finding kills all the way through. And if we can get ourselves into the points before we have to move, then it's a little bit better. The risk of actually peeking out there, that's quite surprising. But look how much damage has just been done by the EVA, spamming away alongside that R99. They managed to get themselves in a workable position. The healing just about going to be coming in, cooking the toes as they go, but at least that will be the survival of one of their most critical players in this late round scenario. Freshie has to be careful because he himself is starting to take a bit of damage as well. But they're still happy to just hold up in this building. And you can see teams, they're fairly, well, certain that they want to remove them just before any sort of battle comes in. They've spotted onto the door. I'm interested how that's going to work. Maybe going to try and use the Wraith to run out the door, get around the back, and get them further into the ring. But the fact is, they'll have to do that very soon indeed, because in 30 seconds, they're going to start taking a hell of a lot of damage.
and the clock's ticking. It will not stop anytime soon. They themselves, Barrage, not in the zone for points yet. As though we see Euro taking down somebody, they might just pray that they can get out of this with a few points talking about it. Cynic is not really in a good spot. And so we see a portal to be placed as Freshy actually survives overall. Take a look at it. He did not even take any damage. And now Barrage, they all just made it somewhat through, didn't they? They are flanking the opponent on the roof, waiting it out because we see there's no armor left onto him. There's no chance of a real survival coming in, as though he prays. He's taking the portal, needs to go back into it anytime soon. There's no more shield defending it. There's no shield making it work. He's trying so hard to get through, takes down one, and the second one is not going to be an possibility. He took down a squad. And that should now be the point, shouldn't it?
Well, yeah, that'll be the thing. If he manages to kill off one of the squads, or if he did do it just before he died, then that would actually place them in 5th, which would be just about in the points, and that's exactly what they did. So that was worthwhile for them. A couple of points, not a huge amount, but at least something added. Now we're going to be switching over to the guys looking to get into those further spots. So much damage done off the back of this Peacekeeper. Madness at the moment, as almost all the kills just going the way of Zania. And well, so much still left to do. Teammates on the ground. Can he close out any more players?
Yeah, that is the question. The Peacekeeper has done a phenomenal job at that point. In combination with the R99, you're a close-range beast that should not be stopped under any circumstances. And we're only talking about 3 more squads, right? We're not talking about too much opposition. Everybody is somewhat wounded. You don't know about the state of their medical economy, to say it that way. Xania is looking for all of those kills right now. Even her teammate is coming in, or is it actually just more of a try to get into safety? Actually, an outstanding move.
Yeah, it just gets within the building, hoping that there's no one there, but there is, unfortunately. Now, just remember, you can't queue through the portal, so you have to time it well, and just about manages to make it through. Unfortunately, that does mean that the Pathfinder will fall. Didn't want to take the risk of fighting outside. Instead, it's the players up above and on the roof that are doing the damage. I think they also managed to revive some of their own teammates as well. So it is just going to have to be the push in. Now the ring starts to deal damage as well. And both players, I believe, may fall. It looks like the Wraith just about got away with that one. Must have had quite a lot of health. And that will be, well, one of our remaining squads winning. We won't know until they appear on our screen.
My goodness. I mean, this towards the end, the damage dealt, that was phenomenal, but it was obviously not enough, and that is the unfortunate part. Once more, this was actually Barrage. What they have done towards the end was astonishing to me. That one final kill coming out of the EVA 8, 15 damage dealt it was in the end. And that's giving you a 5th place, that's giving you a few points, and we talked about consistency. This is guaranteeing you consistency.
I believe that might have been Devil Eyes who actually got the victory there. I think it was D Eyes, so that's what I'm going to guess that their name was. But
yeah,
congratulations to them. There's still a couple more games to go, so make sure you are back after the break, where we will be bringing home game number 5.
walking backwards, losing focus. Slip so slow we didn't notice. Never read the warning signs, but it doesn't matter where we're headed. Made our plans, we're gonna get it. 'Cause I got your hand in mine. So where do we go? Where do we go from here? Highs and lows, all that I know is that I'm gonna follow you wherever you go. Wherever you go, my dear, need you the most. And I wanna know, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here?
And immediately, we're hopping directly in the action. I think we already see Death Crate, so there's no time to be wasted. Back in round number 5 we are. I'm just going to stop talking immediately because we already have a player down and a squad eliminated.
Yeah, it seems like we've had a few early fights in this game. I've seen Butsy, but just as we were launching in, opening up his stream, he was already right within the fights. Now, if you can survive these in the early game, of course, there's huge benefits. You can get an area to yourself to loot, and also you can steal anything from anybody else that they have taken already. So basically, everybody has just gone and picked up a load of loot for you. At the same time, I will say that the area they are currently in is not one that I particularly like. Like, there is a decent amount of loot there, but a lot of it is not of the higher tier. Like, you don't see too often like high amounts of like purple armor, and
Right.
most of the time you're not going to get your full team kitted out from this area.
It's still somewhat safe. It's a safe
Yeah.
beginning approach, right? And you can go down south, you can go through more houses, and that gives you somewhat of an idea. Though I agree. I mean, the flat line is pretty much representing how bad your state. So, instantly switching over, we are about to see Grip, who is at least close to Hydro, if not Slums and Hydro, somewhere in between. His team is looking fairly well equipped. He's even having the golden helmet, which is quite nice if you think about it from the perspective that a grapple can be used a fairly bit more often.
Yeah, it definitely depends on the character, like whether or not you're going to use it so much. But like, I don't know. I think personally, if I was him, like maybe he'll wait until a teammate finds a purple one. But I think that it's far more valuable on one of the other players, like being able to reuse some of your abilities a little bit quicker. I think for him, it gives him a bit of a movement boost, but for the other two, it really can give you a lot more in terms of healing
Right.
or in terms of escape. But yeah, not the best start for Butsy and his team. It's all down to one man, Danny Omega. And he's got a cool name, but let's see if he can pull off the clutch.
I mean, it looks promising. The name looks promising, fully agreed. But Danny himself is somewhere on the outskirts, nearly falling off the map. Not quite sure what weaponry he actually has in his hands, and he could try to recover his teammates. I'm not so sure how far he's away. I don't see that really, but directly getting out of the fight, we're back to Crip, who is equipped with the G7 Scout and the Spitfire. A very decent beginning combination if you think about it. But shooting through the burned woods, it's somewhat problematic because you even see his teammates, right? They're further away. He's just scouting at the moment, and they just try to get their game plan rolling because if they really want to engage, it doesn't look like it
Yeah, we're going to be switching over to Fitzy. He's already got himself an R99 longbow. That could be a combo that lasts him all the way to the end of the game. So fairly happy with that one. Blue, purple armor, and well, his last teammate's been left out to dry a little bit there, but clearly needs to be a little bit quicker on his feet if he wants to be sat with some of the better armor. I think
Right.
pretty much one of the only reasons at the moment to play Octane is just to be a dirty little thief. But either way, nice work coming in from that longbow. Will already execute Ronnie the Whale. And
Oh,
well, although that'll be some poaching problems for him in the future, for now it has got him the initial kill. The fact is, though, TSM is starting to take an awful lot of damage, but just going to utilize the smokes, the ult of Bangalore, and while any team looking to push through that now has a bit of a death wish.
100%. Said it quite well. Making it all a bit more problematic. And as Fitzy and Co. are trying their best to survive and try to escape fight at the moment, they take the right way around. It could pay off in the end. It just depends how much pressure onto them, because right now, Lifeline is down, and this is where it gets a little bit problematic, and you need to consider which fights you actually are about to pick.
Yeah, I think this was more of a rescue mission. Like, you could see that the Lifeline was actually tagging positions where they were currently being shot from, and because the Lifeline wasn't actually able to escape, eventually after the death and after spotting multiple players out, I think they've sort of realized here that they're just going to have to play this one without the Lifeline, which again, like there's not really a good character to lose within this game, but
Right.
you sort of want to have yourself at least the Wraith alive. I think that's the last character. If it's a Wraith, I don't think you're that much trouble. Quite surprising to see them without Pathfinder, because it gives you so much information. But some teams do genuinely just opt to go for the sort of higher firepower, the better characters for the battles, and then just rotate in through the edge. And if you're rotating on the edge, you don't really need to know where the next ring is. Shots of the longbow not quite connecting and actually taking a lot of damage from the spray. The thing is that they've actually managed to get the tag, so that's decent. That's surprising. And it is going to be that Wraith just looking to try and escape back in, and
Oh, my word.
successful.
That was so important. This was right now such a critical move to get your teammate back into it. You have 3 minutes and 20 seconds. Should be enough to get Lifeline back on a decent equip. So it's now just all about taking care of your teammates, that they don't get shut down in the end. Would be the worst ending of it again, but now it's about scouting a lot, because you've seen there was another squad back in the woods directly up ahead of you in the west. So now it just comes down that you don't fall in any of those booby traps at the moment. But we're switching over. Let's take a look. As Crip. Wait, this is another squad,
No.
isn't it?
Yeah, this is Crip looking to try and close out the TSM boys and remove that lifeline that's only just been brought back in. So
It's the worst.
teammates going to have to try and fight this one off. Actually taking a lot of damage. Although the Spitfire does decent damage close up, you're not going to do anything versus the shotguns. However, it seems like his teammates have managed to do the work instead. Fitzy will be down. Kubsky has fallen as well. And it seems like Mady, his teammate, has now become the leader in kills.
And it feels a lot like it, Tom, that we're in the second ring and we only see 10 squads. I think this is the first time during this evening we are actually seeing only such few teams alive during this early phase of the game. And so a lot of teams probably just took the gamble and took the fight in this. RE45 being dropped, I would say. Yeah, coming in with this G7 Scout, actually still quite useful in the end. And I love the Spitfire usage in that, as it can help you so much with a somewhat extended magazine. 10 teams once more left. Overall, the next zone is about to come in just 1 minute 45. So it's more than enough time left, and I think we're just going to have a bit of peace for the next minute or two.
Yeah, I think for Crip and his team, pushing through this choke point is going to be a tough one. So they're going to look to try and basically do the same thing that we saw earlier from the boys on TSM. The only problem is that we know that there's multiple teams just waiting up ahead to try and shut them down. Scourge, we've watched him throughout the day and looks to try and ping some more shots over up to the players up above. They've moved into the ring very early. Of course, another benefit of this Pathfinder is this ability to spot the next ring. So they're not even within the last ring. They're in the next one. So they are more than safe at this point. they have got a minute until the ring starts moving onto the bigger circle. So this really isn't going to be a problem for them at all. They're looking to try and take some early presence on the map and just making their way towards the watchtower and further up to get to
Otherwise,
artillery.
it feels a lot like they could play it very safely on ramp at the moment, but the problem about ramp is you can easily be sandwiched in. At least the south side is going to be the crucial aspect when you take a look at it, because the green zone, which is the indicator for the follow-up round 4, is where the south side or the ramp downside is fully isolated from everybody coming at them. So it could be put quite much in use, but they might just take the open field on artillery. I'm not so sure if I'm a fan of that, because there are 10 million angles where you can be shot from by now.
Well, I'm glad you're the one who counted all of them up because I certainly haven't. But
No problem.
the fact is, I can understand both arguments. Like holding the teams who are pushing up the ramp can definitely benefit you significantly, like grabbing loot and also just removing squads. But at the same time, if you can find a late round position where you just have to hide, you save all your meds or your ammo, and then just wait patiently for everybody else to do the work for you, that could be a much safer bet.
It could be. It very much could be. I'd fully agree actually with you here, Tom. But I don't know. It's always very difficult, because I think, for example, right here, right, you don't see them having any advantageous position at all. Know where they are. They're really there to take down a few overall, but I think they just escaped the situation because they realized that they might be in sight of somebody, or at least a team coming down to pressure them. So patience is there. Sniper being put to use in combination with the R99. The ramp seems to be a quite decent spot, actually.
Yeah, I think the other argument as well is just that you don't actually know where the ring is going to be centering yet. Now,
Oh.
there is still another spot to go and find that out right now, but they have to push further into artillery. And as you sort of mentioned, what they're kind of going for here is the evil they know rather than, the evil they don't. It's definitely safer. But yeah, this is just dirty. Like they're finding angles that if anybody checks for these, like you're going to want to check their mouse and all of their gear to make sure that they're not spotting through the walls, because this is just disgusting. It's also right within the circle as well. So anybody pushing up the ramp has to pretty much be facing the other way unless they know this spot already. The only thing I will say for Scourge and his team is the next time anybody pushes through here, they're definitely going to be checking this spot.
That's a disgusting ambush. This is like you are not sure what's going to happen next. You have no clue. I mean, the orientation you need is going to take you long enough to die 5 times. So, very good positioning. I've never seen that before, very honestly, but you always get surprised, don't you? Now, interestingly enough, Crip is really trying to find anyone outside of the zone or flank around. I'm not so sure about it yet. But I think he wants to flank around, doesn't he?
I think the main thing for his team at the moment is not only spotting people in front of him, but yeah, like you said, get themselves a better angle inside if they can. But it might just be that they've marked previously where a team was, because a lot of the time you want your sort of red markers available for immediate danger, and then you have your yellow ones can just be used of, okay, I think there's someone here, or there was someone here, and just as a sort of like, be careful of this position, because these guys, it's not like your average game of matchmaking. You don't need to mark where you're going because you are talking to each other.
You said it beautifully, didn't you? No, really. At this point, with 60 seconds, Crip is in a very, very disgusting spot where Hido can hold it down for a lot of time. And I mean, this is where now patience pays off. Going into artillery that late is where you already expect everybody to have a very disgusting spot back on ramp to do a very well coordinated flank. Excuse me, not flank. Ambush. That was the word I was actually looking for. So at this point, the patience could pay off. We're switching over. And that's Mady, if I'm not totally wrong.
Yeah, they've already managed to get themselves within the top 2 a couple of times. Not quite on the win, which I imagine will frustrate them a little bit. But yeah, Mady and his team looking to try and do the damage. Actually, I believe that's a stream overlay of somebody else. This is a death
Yeah,
cam, so that is not what they have done so far today. Unfortunately, it means that we can see that Game 5 actually is already listed as 11th. So unfortunately, that hasn't worked out for this team. But probably it means that Mady was the one to kill them. Got himself the sniper, and also with the purple armor all the way across, in a fairly decent position here. But they're now looking to round onto the edge of that ring as well. Many teams are going to be looking to pounce on this quite late, although we do know that there's a couple already within the artillery spot. However, shots beginning to be missed, so they're going to look to fall back. One thing we saw, at least with Crip, is he has an insane amount of meds. Like, he was dropping batteries, he had med kits, he had so many cells. Like, they are ready for fights. They are happy to take pot shots at different teams, because if they remove a few bits of the medication of their opponents, it's much better than them losing a couple of their own, because they have loads.
They do have loads. Funny part is for me, Tom, that we have actually experienced in the beginning phase or in the early middle phase to see a lot of squads dying. Now we're in a position where not anybody has been executed for like the last 3 or 4 minutes. At least it feels like that. Could be, of course, wrong. But you have to get closer to artillery. It's 1 minute 30 left on the clock. You got a forest to your left-hand side, which extremely dense flora and fauna, which make it just all more and more tougher. And so you really try to get in some safe position. The tanks are just temporary cover, because very honestly, this is just a position you don't want to be in. This is where it gets uncomfortable. This is where it gets disgusting, and this is where Wraith is going to be a key element as well as that scope.
Yeah, looking to try and spam away. The Wraith has managed to at least get one of the teammates to escape.
Oh, no.
Will they be able to retrieve one? Oh no, they pushed into the corner. There's actually another team down here, probably one of the worst choke points they could possibly be in. And although the Lifeline does manage a rotation through the portal, they're now getting closed in. There are so many teams already within this spot. And while Crip is just trying to escape, utilizing that grapple to fling himself across. Great movement from him. The fact is, though, there's still going to be players looking to hunt him down, and he's bang in the middle of the circle.
I'm still shocked that actually Wraith is alive. I have no idea how that is the case, but thankfully for him, his teammates can prevail to some degree, but not for long enough. The thing is, Crip got to stay alive against a few more squads to actually get in the placement points, right? This is still one long road he needs to go down. And I think we have learned one thing from this, Tom, is when it comes down to artillery and this amount of squads are still alive, you don't want to enter that late.
Yeah, that is for sure. I think it was more down to necessity than anything else, but
yes,
Crip is in survival mode. He's got himself that big boy Pathfinder, which, although the movement on it's wonderful when it comes to the grapple, and he's going to be able to use that as much as he wants thanks to the helmet, the big problem for him is you don't really blend in too well. He's quite a big man, so there's going to be plenty of players looking to round into his position. You can see that he's actually still marking things just for himself, actually, but whether or not he can get up there is another thing altogether.
Well, if I saw it correctly, there was an opponent up there, wasn't it? Yeah. Oh, he's under so much pressure. He really... I mean, he shouldn't withstand this any much longer, right? Crip should not be there alive any more seconds. You see him, though, trying his best, taking the high ground. Oh, no, this is nasty. This is just disgusting. This is brilliant, and I love it, but this is disgusting. I'm not quite sure. Can he get out of it again? I think so. He's not stuck, is he?
I don't know. Like, I imagine there must be a way out, but at the same time, you could see by the smile on his face that he does not care. And I doubt he's going to be leaving, because just look where the ring is centering. Like, he is bang in the middle. The only problem is, he is dead. If he is seen at all, he is 100% dead, because he can't run away quick enough. That's the biggest problem. It's only if he's completely overlooked, maybe he blends in a little bit with the other metallic things around him. I have actually wondered whether or not some players will be using duller skins within the game to just try and blend in certain positions, because some of the Pathfinder skins have, well, like ponies all over them and are quite bright colored. So you might not want to pick one of those. Even still, though, we're going to switch over to the death cam, switching on to HS, and they are pretty well stacked at the moment. His teammate a little bit lower on HP, doesn't have any armor. I wonder if that was a revival or if he has just dropped on the floor. Yeah, it's just dropped on the floor. They know that they'll be able to pick that one up if necessary. And just actually going to give a little bit of position over to that Wraith. Basically run around. They don't have the shield cells to get the health back, but they do have a lifeline. So he can just come back in if he takes any damage, not a problem. The lifeline heals him back up, and then he can just pick his armor back up off the floor.
If he feels like it. For the moment, he doesn't. It looks a lot like this is, by the way, the squad where we saw killing the remaining teammates of, yeah, if I would not be that dumb with names from time to time, that would be brilliant. Yeah, Crip, it is actually, pardon me. And as that Soul Pathfinder is still hiding, everybody around him is trying to get more and more frags. It looks a bit problematic for a Pathfinder right here. HS is under fire and in trouble. Phineas Kit, does it work in time? Yeah, it does work in time. It should work in time. It looks like it works in time, and it does overall. But it was a matter of seconds, escaping the scenario, going back in safety, and waiting.
Yeah, it is a little bit troublesome now. They've lost their Wraith. He's just going to be healing up in the corner. May take a little bit of damage off of this, but not really anything to worry about. Very close to the edge of that zone still, with 7 squads remaining. His lifeline's just going to go running in, though. So him just being on the edge could actually be enough here. Looking to spray one down. That's down to 6 squads. Can he do anything more? Just looking to try and retreat up, but has made a mistake and is going to be caught on the edge. This should be death for sure. And it's actually going to be the zone to catch out Denze. I'm sure he's not happy with that one in the end, but switching things up. Serious, within the points, also doing mad damage with that wonderful wingman, just spamming shots away. Teammates both without any armor is definitely not the case you want. They need to be sort of playing for him now, baiting for him, giving him positions to take the fights and not take any damage. Even still, though, he is going to be going looking, pushing. I still wonder if Crip's actually standing within those blocks or if he's actually been finished off. He is. He's still in here, just hiding. No one's spotting him out. He's got into the points. He now is got 4th place just based of this, and they can't see him at all. That they are literally standing on top of where he is at the moment. And that's the thing. The smartest thing he can do right now is not shoot a bullet. 3 squads remaining. He's now getting a reasonable amount of points. Oh,
you gotta be kidding me.
If that was on the other side, that would literally have been exactly where Crip was standing. They would have landed on his head. This is almost hilarious at this point that they don't know where he is.
Tom, tell me this is a pivotal. This is a crazy joke. This can't be true.
He's gonna get top 2 and then die. Like that's all it can be.
It must be.
The other team, while they probably won't be able to find him, the only way he wins is if the zone centers exactly on his head. And I don't think that will happen because I don't think it can, just because of the corner. Sirius is so unbelievably close to actually spotting him out at the moment, but instead he's actually going to rotate in to try and get a closer angle to the other opponent who's currently just within the bunker, spamming shots away, can't quite connect, and will eventually do a little bit of damage. You can see the frustration for Sirius. Remember, his teammates are almost like pawns at this point because they can't really do anything. They don't have any health. That's the only real benefit for his opponent, Crip, is that he could actually just finish this man off, and then he has a good chance. If he pounces now, there's so many low players around, he actually has a chance of victory. The thing is, though, I think he's almost happy to just go for this 2nd place, make sure that the other teams do the work, and then try and push in at the end. You can still see the damage coming in. The teammates are kind of in a horrible spot here, but they managed to get one down, and that leaves it all on to, I believe, the Wraith, who's just trying to run around in the corner. Eventually, this is going to be done. Crip now gets into that 2nd place spot, and he has moved. He's gone for it. He's going to jump into the corner, already spraying down one, but eventually he will fall. A nice attempt, a dirty little gremlin angle will get him 2nd place, and you can see he's barely happy with that.
I mean, Tom, this is ridiculous. The amount of... He was trapped like an animal in the zoo behind the gates. And he still makes it out 2nd, gives his team a good fair share of points. And I think you can be happy with that. The way it looked, the way they entered artillery and came out 2nd, that is fairly good.
Oh no, for sure. Like the way that the scenario went for him to get into second place is absolutely ridiculous. And that's the second time we've seen something of the sort where a player is just hidden in the corner and just managed to get a second place. And that's way more than he ever would have got trying to take fights there. He was lucky to get into the points when he was the last one left alive. I believe there was still something like 8 or 9 squads remaining. So to
Right.
finish second, take 80% of the points home, that is fantastic for his team. That will move them up the leaderboard. And I can tell you now that Crip and his team are going to be very happy with that one. Either way, we've got one more game left. It will be coming up after the break, so make sure you stick around and don't go anywhere.
I'm looking for the road, eyes on the sky, taking it one step at a time. I know that I'm not alone, yeah, we'll be fine, taking it one step at a time. Walking backwards, losing focus, slip so slow we didn't notice, never read the warning signs, but it doesn't matter where we're headed, made our plans, we're gonna get it, 'cause I got your hand in mine, so where do we go?
Spend the night in modern elegance at Riverside Casino and Golf Resort, 12 miles south of Iowa City.
Why you so defensive? You always miss my calls. Run around in circles cause you're nervous I won't catch you when you fall. You're so defensive. Why you so defensive? Don't listen to the voices in your head. They're gonna take you down and you know it. I'll be waiting till you come to your senses. Baby, tear down your fences. Baby, tear down your fences. Don't listen to the voices in your head. They're gonna leave scars if you don't show it. I'll be waiting till you come to your senses. Baby, tear down your fences. Baby, tear down your fences for me. Understand why I miss you, and that's an issue. Oh, don't listen to the voices in your head. They're gonna take you down and you know it. I'll be waiting till you come to your senses. Baby, tear down your fences. Baby, tear down your fences. Don't listen to the voices in your head. They're gonna leave scars if you don't show it. I'll be waiting till you come to your senses. Baby, tear down your fences. Baby, tear down your fences for me. Baby, tear down your fences for Don't listen to the voices in your head. They're gonna take you down and you know it. I'll be waiting till you come to your senses. Baby, tear down your fences. Baby, tear down your fences. Don't listen to the voices in your head. They're gonna leave scars if you don't show it. I'll be waiting till you come to your senses.
And we are live. Tom, this is the final one for the evening. We saw banger matches. We saw insane performances. A German accent even coming through as it's getting a little late at that point in time. But we might see the end with, well, I hope with, let's say, I want fireworks, a massive explosion, and elephants around the server, to put it that way. I want an entire circus, the best that Apex Legends can offer us in the final matchup, because we have seen good games already. It's time for the real finish.
Well, luckily with you being here, we already have the clown, so I think we're more than set up for a full-on circus to finish off the game. But we are going to be starting things off with a man who's got himself a pretty decent loadout, R301 Eva 8 to kick things off. Eva 8 more of just I would say a placeholder weapon. Well, it really didn't last very long. It can definitely work out for maybe carrying an attachment or two if you're looking for a peacekeeper, but also at close range, I would say it's the most forgiving of the shotguns. The fact that you can basically just spam a few shots away, it'll still do high amounts of damage, and if you miss one or two, you're not really going to be punished too much. Whereas with the peacekeeper, you miss a bullet, there's a bit of a kickback on that weapon, and it means that you could be in quite a bit of trouble.
Yeah, the Clown and the Boltman bringing you this matchup sounds like a bit of a horror story to some degree, but seems like we are switching over. We are getting over to Prince, Stevie S. We are watching the first time by now. Wingman in his hands. I cannot unfortunately not see the second weapon because he perfectly put his goal just directly above of it. Not so helpful, but nevertheless, Prince directly going for the region underneath the sewers, trying to get some loot rolling. We still have 16 squads left alive, and therefore the early relaxed phase we are facing.
Maybe if you get his $300 goal, he will allow you to see what other weapon he has. But yeah, other than that, the thing is, I feel like that's a bit of a weird place to put it. Like if he puts it on the other side, it really doesn't matter that much. But it's not my job to judge his streams. We will avoid doing that. Hopefully, at some point, he'll be able to show us what his second weapon is. I imagine it might be a shotgun. Now we do have ourselves a Prowler in this one at the moment. I believe it already has the select fire on it, so it's actually not that bad of a gun at this point. I think if you have it without, it's a little bit more of a worry. Actually, was that a Bloodhound? I wonder if that was one of the I don't want to say it because if it was a pro, I'll get in trouble, but I wonder if that was not a pro player because I have not seen a single Bloodhound, and this is just shredding at the moment. Bust my pistachio, doing the damage, and yeah, there's a reason we've seen this man survive into so many late game situations. He is a bit of a beast.
He is a bit of a beast. I'm very happy to see the Prowler at least. Once more, underrated, but I think as I said it, I got bamboozled immediately. Has been dropped. Takes nothing else than a wingman instead. I mean, a very reasonable thing to do if you ask me. And that combination might be working quite well. The zone is coming at him, but in the meantime, we are switching over because a fight has already started near the sewers. It's getting a little problematic for Prince because he and his teammates, they're all a little bit scattered, aren't they?
Yeah, already a little bit troublesome for them. We can see Barrage also picking up a kill onto Dual Media as well. So players being dropped again fairly early in this game, 15 already gone. It is worth noting that there's probably a few non-pro teams in here as well. So you have to be pretty unlucky. I would say that that's like one of my worst nightmares. You never know, it might have happened to you at some point, or at least that's your excuse can be. Is, oh, no, I'm pretty sure that game I was in a pro game. That's why I didn't actually do that well. But yeah, if you are one of the unlucky ducklings to end up with all of these guys in your team, you're going to be in a bit of trouble. But Anarchy, I'm going to try and find something with this wingman. Again, wingman R301 does give you a decent amount of range, and so many bullets hit there, making their opponent sweat a little bit. Now, one of the things that is worth mentioning is although you may see white armor on some of these players when we are spamming, like for example there, the reason we're not seeing so many aggressive pushes out from these teams is because it is very common for teams to hide around sets of armor. For example, exactly like we're seeing here from Anarchy and his team, because then you can just switch up to another piece of armor. And so say, for example, well, maybe you only have like the white armor, for example, on the floor. You use that to peek. Then if anybody comes pushing, you pick up purple armor, and they're in for a nasty surprise.
Yeah, they are in for a nasty surprise. So, the gold armor a bit damaged, but the wingman can't do enough. This is a range duel for a bit of time by now. As we still see 15 squads alive, as we still see armor being replenished. There's also another blue armor to the other side, if I see it correctly. So maybe they just left it spare. Not so sure about it. Doesn't matter overall. You see, he's running out of shield cells. So you need to try to get out of the position because you cannot further loot. You are running out of important items, and now there has to be a decision to be made. You said it a little earlier, and it was a very legit point. Decision making is one of the pivotal aspects in competitive Apex. So it's now time to make a decision, because if you stay up there, you're running out of items. You're going to just stay on a pedestal, and you might be killed anytime soon.
Yeah, it is. It's one of those situations where they know that there's opponents around, but at the same time, the value of this spot is actually quite high just based on where the current zone is edging. We are going to go back over to Team Dice, who, they're in another sort of, well, almost a dicey situation. I didn't want to say it, but I'm going to do it anyway. already taking quite a bit of damage. Another very open area, which you can see them wanting to try and get up towards that Pathfinder spot so that they can actually find out where the next ring is going to be. The problem is there's teams on the other side. You can see Swipe. He's trying to take away the vision of his opponents. He's the distraction. If he takes some damage, it really doesn't matter. He's got the ability to escape quite quickly. And it means that the Pathfinder can take the moment to find out where that next ring is going to be. And then they can pretty much just use that to decide where they're going to be going and what they're going to be doing.
And as we're switching over, Anarchy it is again. You see, the problem that occurs is one player down. This is the lifeline. And if I see correctly, it is even the Pathfinder mate, McBain, in a bit of trouble. Yes, he is being shut down. Still in a quite alright situation. And on the zipline, it's not too many shots hitting. The R301 is still not a great weapon when it comes down to only having 18 bullets left in the mag. Oh, and look at the patience. Because you need to find those players right now because they keep on hunting. They keep on hunting. We don't even know if that is a squad from the league or just one in the lobby. But if you imagine that they're just hungry for frags, of course they'll hunt you down. And with two players, you are just too weak, or you are somewhat in an uncomfortable situation to make it work.
Yeah, I think that's one of the only times we really see a lot of aggression is once a teammate's already removed, because you know that you're going to have a 3-for-2. And most of these teams, when it gets down to that sort of scenario, you're almost definitely confident you can win. Because the chances are that even if they hit a couple of shots, as long as you don't actually have a player die, it's not so much of a problem. Now, you can see Anarchy, there's a clear temptation that he wants to try and get his teammate's banner. I just don't think they have the time. Look at the gun poking through the door.
Oh.
They know that there's a team in here. They're going to wait to see if they rotate away. Can they actually not spot him just crouched down below? Or is it just that they don't want to be the one to make the move? That right-hand door will definitely open. And they are just going to go right up to it. I think they may just be spamming the barrier at the moment as they peek into each other's eyes. It is almost like a Romeo and Juliet, except for the fact that they actually wanted to kill each other. A little bit of a different story, not quite as happy. Then again, in the end, they all die.
True, that is the end of the story. But if it's going to be the end of the story for Anarchy...
Spoilers, by the way.
I didn't watch that episode, okay? I did not watch it. Thank you, Tom, really. Freaking hell. Overall, though, Anarchy is in an uncomfortable spot. Even the respawn timed out by now, so... this is not what you want to see, is it?
Yeah, even in terms of healing, they really don't have much at all. Okay, they've got syringes, but you can see Anarchy was actually just checking to see if he had any shield cells. Doesn't. McBain down to white armor as well, and it looks like they might try and push a little bit more aggressively. Maybe try and take one of these players down, get themselves something, as they do spot into the room where their opponent was previously sitting. Must have escaped somehow. He snuck out of the room, and they're just going to take it themselves, because this is one of those spots where they can literally do what the guy just did to them and just spam the doors. It is not a pretty strategy. It's not a particularly good one either, because it's very easy to kick down those doors as well. But at the same time, it does give you a little bit more safety. Now, we're back on board with Bust My Pistachios. Currently within the top 50 in the league at the moment, but they're definitely going to want to get themselves another win or two on the board.
That's one hell of a name.
Yeah, it is.
I love it.
The worrying thing is as well, I think his actual username when it comes to the Liquipedia is just Pistachios. So clearly the name Pistachios was already taken. So he had to add a little bit of flair to it to be able to have the username.
I'm not quite sure if I should love it.
I do. I think it's an awesome name.
Is it?
Yeah. It's much cooler than mine. It's definitely cooler than yours.
I love your name. I honestly have to say I like the combination of your name, really. It is a good one. From Tombizz smart to Tombizz is just...
It's lazy, but it works.
Of course it is lazy. Exactly. It works. And that is the only thing that matters. If it's going to work with the portal, we're not going to see that. We're switching over to Prince. And obviously, hiding with 14 squads left, I would say it consumes time, doesn't it?
Well, you can see it looks like he's having a little bit of a natter with his chat at the moment, as they are just going to be patiently waiting. As they are, well, possibly already in the ring. He's also decided to cover up his map. I wonder if that is intentional. Although the one thing about this is you're gonna know where they are on the map anyway if you play the game. So
From one time, yeah.
I imagine maybe not. Pistachio already spotting out some opponents, and they're actually going to be pushing onto the roof as well. Now, we already know there are plenty of players challenging around this area. As we are getting into the smaller rings, it is down to just 14 remaining. We are going to switch to the R99. Definitely the better weapon in terms of the close range battles, as it will have itself the more rapid fire spray. At the same time, a little bit more of a range fall off.
What's so hilarious? You mentioned it earlier with his mouse cam and the light in the room.
Yeah.
He actually forgot it. You were right. You were not lying.
Oh, yeah, we've watched him multiple times. It happens every time. He does. He just plays in the darkness. He was born in the darkness. He will live in the darkness. I'm not going to do the Bane voice because it just doesn't work for me. It's not my strong suit impressions. And well, we're actually seeing still on the roof. DVS. Prince is going to be up there on the top, watching out for anybody looking to hide within the bones. And what a shot! eSuper have just got a nasty surprise. He's going to try and finish this off with the nades. Chances fairly slim if he does manage to get this kill. In fact, it actually was a bleed out. So I imagine that means, yeah, Izzy, the other player from that team, has actually gone down. Prince with a wonderful shot there to actually help out his opponent's kill off another team, but he's not going to mind too much about that as they just look to continue to hold on to this roof.
They very much do. And so we are switching over. Prince, bye-bye to you. Back to the Pistachios. The man with the not-so-lazy name and the light not turned on by now. Bangalore is raining down on the outside. 13 squads left as the ring is about to close in 1 minute 40. And then it's once more just about purely the Skull Town madness we're about to experience, where close range is the only thing you really see. And so they are waiting it out. It's funny. Pardon. It's not even Skull Town. How is that one called? It's in the south of Skull Town, isn't it?
Sure.
I mean, where is it?
I'm going to leave this one to you. You can do a little Google while I do the play-by-play. It is going to be Weku going down. Pistachios really is having a good game at the moment. Not too many defining kills, but in terms of what they have currently picked up, they're in a very good spot. The knockdown shield will save his opponent just for a little bit, but not too much longer, as we will have ourselves 13 squads remaining. Lucky number 13. Still, obviously, the teammates of his opponents still standing, but now we start to witness more and more squads falling. 12 remaining as the push comes forward from Pistachio. The spray is perfect and looks to switch to the wingman for that defining blow, but isn't quite going to be able to do it. They're still looking to try and go on the hunt here. They know they've done the damage, but this roof is probably the most valuable piece of real estate at the moment. We know that there's plenty of teams further forward on the other side of the roof, but they're pretty comfortable hiding up here.
It is very comfortable hiding up here, and if I see it correctly, I mean, everything on the stream is blocking the valuable things, right? I don't even know when the next zone is coming in, unfortunately. So, it is about them right now being near Thunderdome, and I think the problem that might just come in soon is that they use the low ground, and with this low ground, they might just have the problem that once they enter towards the buildings, it will even get worse. And especially right now, they're only down by 2. It is the Pathfinder taking a bit of damage through the zone, I think it is. So they have to take a break soon. Besides that, the problem is no armor and white armor on the teammates. This should be an affair done.
Yeah, hoping that he can just survive within the edges of the zone, but it isn't going to be the case. He will be joining the lifeline on the deck, and his teammate, Monstro, will be looking to try and survive here. Has managed to get at least closer to the top 10, but as their team drops out, the chances of him even getting anywhere near that top 5 are so slim. We see so many teams getting this far into the game. Now, in the meantime, we're going to go in on to swipe. So much damage hit on the players looking across. In fact, he's actually going to be able to drop one as they go past. Clinical aim as he will clean up another. This is a little bit earlier in the game, as I think that may have been one of the teammates of the players we just witnessed. as they will now take control of the other side of the roof. Now, we know that Bust My Pistachios and his team are on the other side, so they do have to be a little bit careful as they've been fairly well kitted out throughout this matchup. Spam going in towards the Bones, still doing more damage. But as you mentioned, teams moving in towards the Thunderdome here. We'll see if that's where the ring ends up closing. No, it won't.
It pretty much won't, no. And you see right now the Nates coming in, they pretty much have a mortar fight coming their way with that one doing the job. They actually left a purple armor on their site, which is an intelligent move if you ask me. So you see, is it the high ground to the left-hand side? I think it is. There's somebody on the rocks to the left, isn't it, Tom? And it looks like that could just end even worse because it is still a few bunch of squads alive. It is still a lot of pressure now being built up. And they might just get themselves in the uncomfortable spot of losing the high ground in case they decide to do so. It would not be the best move, if you ask me.
Yeah, definitely just looking to try and hold on to this as much as possible. Tempted to throw out some grenades, but it is worth noting that the last circle is where those grenades become the most valuable, and they're already going to be dropping another player, spotting them as they run across. This position has just become perfect, and now that final death-defying nade will be thrown in, and it even eliminates Cynic as well, someone we've watched previously. So many teams just dropping at this point as we get down to just 7 squads remaining. Teams trying to push on to Bust My Pistachios and his team up the top. But the problem is they've just got so much in terms of shield cells. They've got so much in terms of armor. And they really do have the best weaponry for these sort of close range battles as well. So the only real problem is it seems like maybe a teammate might be running out of ammo. So they're actually going to have to drop a little bit here. The circle now goes right around his team. And well, as we see the zoom in, I wonder where the next ring's going to go. It's actually not that far away.
It isn't. And they can just easily enter it. And the matter of fact that we're still talking about 7 squads, I mean, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It is just ridiculous. They are just in such a small area, fighting for, first of all, entering the points, and of course, second of all, getting first. The portal being built up, now looking where to go. He's running out of Rift energy, though, so you really have to consider it. There comes the jump, brilliantly done, behind the wall, and now they should be in the zone, in safety, and looking to get further in this game.
Yeah, the best thing is as well is he's managed to jump them right into pretty much all of the loot.
Yeah.
Like that was all it was for. They're happy to go back up to their initial position.
Oh, look how brilliant.
Brings his teammates some cells as well, and yeah, now they're going to be going back for a little bit more.
It's brilliant because he pretty much opened up a buffet, didn't he? Now you can just grab whatever you want, get back into it, get back out it, all done well, and you still remain on the high ground. This is awesome, and this is smart and intelligent, going down there and now saying, you know what, we don't need the high ground anymore. We're just going to drop, and 7 squads remaining is still a good bunch, Tom. And this is making it all just so uncomfortable for everyone around here because it should collapse anytime soon, shouldn't it?
Yeah, and they're within that final circle as well. I believe it's actually counting down for the last few seconds. So now the ring will start to close. The problem is they're actually going to be left with an ult on their head. I imagine they're just going to take the initial brunt, and I like it. Use of the Q, no damage taken. The rest of his teammates should manage to go around the corner. They're actually going to try and use a lifeline ult as well to actually give them a little bit of cover if they need it. The problem is the rest of the teams are going to have to go forcing into their position. Now, there's a high chance there's going to be other players actually on the other side of the wall, although the lifeline actually managing to just step up there. Smoke's also not going to be effective at all versus this R99, but the problem is they're now being pushed by multiple angles. One more team dropped as Richard goes down. We're seeing players dropped all over the place. They want to get into those points as a minimum. But the fact is, from this sort of position, you almost expect the Bust My Pistachios and his team should be able to take the W. Still so healthy in their battles. And with players dropping all around them, this could be a big problem.
It feels like the White Wanderers are coming down to just get into their faces. They know where everyone is. Another squad eliminated. Up to, I think, 5 kills if I see it correctly. And he's hungry for more. It's only 1 more left out of nowhere. And they might just seize the victory. Because you see, Rafe is in a lot of trouble. Rafe can't get out of there. I'm not quite sure if she actually made it. But it seems like that could be done, dusted, and over anytime soon. It's even the punch moves coming out. We see the champions. And that's well deserved.
Yeah, no, a fantastic game. It's always enjoyable when you can watch a team almost go from rags to riches and from the very beginning of the game come all the way through to take the victory. Bust My Pistachio is always a regular streamer within the league. So if you are looking to get his POV the majority of the time, I would suggest checking out his channel. And yeah, obviously follow the channel here as well. That is it, done and dusted for tonight. I've been Tombizz, joined by Zescht. Obviously, my pronunciation of his name was bang on. I hope you join us again over the next week. But that, I believe, is the last stream of this week. So week 1 is done, finished. You'll have to wait until next Monday before more games will come about. Thank you for watching. Join us then.